Lord of the Rings, Harry Potter, and Star Wars. Which is the best fantasy franchise in movie history? Let's break down these three iconic IPs and find out which is the superior fantasy franchise.
What's up, movie friends? Welcome back to Raiders of the Lost podcast, the ultimate film and TV podcast. I love fantasy. You love fantasy.
Oh, yeah.
Everyone listening loves the fantasy genre. Some of our favorite films of all time are in the fantasy genre, and it allows for huge-scale filmmaking, tons of incredible special effects and visual effects spectacles, and my God, it's our favorite franchises, Harry Potter, Star Wars, Lord of the Rings. I mean, you can't get any better than that. However, there can only be one victor.
Just like there's only one ring.
So we're going to do one huge episode. We're probably going to hit about 3 hours on this. We're going to break down everything from all three of these franchises, from what's the best cinematography, who has the best creatures and monsters, who has the best villains, what's the best directing, who has the best music, what are the best battles, what are the best moments, who has the best overall films and villains, and who's the most successful franchise. There's so many elements that we're going to break down in these beloved franchises. However, just a heads up, we are going to avoid certain aspects. We're not going to include our sparks. We're not going to include Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them in our Harry Potter franchise. We're just going to do the Potter movies, and as well as Lord of the Rings, we're just going to do Lord of the Rings and not include the Hobbit movies. So it's just going to be straight up Star Wars, the original Lord of the Rings, and then straight up just Harry Potter franchise. That's it.
Yeah, but Star Wars encompasses 12 films.
True.
So, but not counting the Clone Wars or the animated series. But that's the thing with these franchises is the lore is so dense for all three of them, really. Star Wars' scope is enormous, and it's never-ending. And you could say one of the issues with Star Wars is the oversaturation of it everywhere. TV shows, every 6 months it seems like one's coming out or sooner, and tons of movies that they haven't had a release in theaters for, 5 years now, which is interesting. And Harry Potter, which had such an incredible run for 10 years in cinemas, and now, is in a lull because the Fantastic Beasts were a bit of a letdown, and obviously they're rebooting the franchise for HBO Max for a TV series, which I'm very excited about. And then Lord of the Rings is it's just Lord of the Rings, baby. It's the best. And we made a poll on Twitter. I asked the world.
And the world responded.
The world responded. I asked, which is the best franchise? I said, is it Harry Potter? Is it Lord of the Rings? Or is it Star Wars? Can you guess, Anthony, which was the number one choice?
I guarantee you Lord of the Rings won.
Lord of the Rings was number one at 45.9% of the vote. Almost half the vote went to Lord of the Rings.
Oh, man.
Then in second place, can you guess what second place was?
I bet it was really close. Was it? No, it wasn't a tie.
It almost was a tie.
I'm saying fans responded with Harry Potter next.
Actually, Star Wars took second place with 27.4% of the vote, and then Harry Potter took third place with 26.7% of the vote. So less than a percentage was the difference between Harry Potter and Star Wars. But both were no contest for Lord of the Rings because it is just a sensational franchise.
We also did a poll on Instagram about who has the better hair between you and I. Now, I recently shaved my head, not because of the poll. Are
you sure? You got a little self-conscious about it? No. Anthony looked in the mirror and just went,
I hate myself.
He's like, who am I?
I will say, James dominated, not to anyone's surprise, not to my surprise either. We did a vote, who has the best hair, Anthony or James? James came out with an uproarious victory of 71% of the votes, and I got 29%. I personally voted for you as well because I think you have better hair than me.
I didn't even know the poll was up. Honestly, I can't believe you got almost 30% of the vote.
I'm really surprised, honestly. I didn't know people like my hair that much.
Well, some people like short hair on guys.
True.
You always have like a shorter, tight, like not a tight fade, but like a short fade.
Yeah.
And I just it's just a mess.
But lettuce.
Long. I got the hockey lettuce going on, curly and long. That's usually my style.
I honestly thought it was going to be 90-10 you to me. So I actually am taking away this this loss in good spirit.
It's a win for you.
I know 21% of the votes.
I think it's 29.
29% of the votes.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Almost one out of every third person voted for Anthony.
Thanks, guys.
Wow, guys.
Thanks, everyone.
We got to get that
really
number
happy.
down, everybody.
Well, now it's down.
Yeah.
I
if you did it again.
I cried in the bathroom and shaved my head afterwards.
But anyways, getting back to the Harry Potter, Lord of the Rings, Star Wars episode franchise, we love these films. If you watch our show, we have posters for all 3 franchises on our set. I got Chamber of Secrets. I have 2 Lord of the Rings posters. I have Fellowship of the Ring, and I have this awesome art house one of Minas Tirith of Gandalf versus a Nazgul.
Nerd.
Which is pretty sick.
That's great.
His sword's on fire, too.
It's awesome.
Anthony's got Empire Strikes Back on that side over there.
Best Star Wars movie.
We grew up on these movies. We grew up adoring Harry Potter. Perfect age, the same age as the actors as they were starring in the films. The first time we read Sorcerer's Stone or Philosopher's Stone, if you're in the UK, we were probably 9 years old. Our aunt got it for us. She lived in Seattle. She was very hip with like new things that were coming out and trends in culture, because that's what Seattle has always been like. The first time I ever had sushi was, it's a hub.
Yeah.
And, it was hitting, because Barnes & Noble was massive in Seattle. Remember, that was one of the early...
it was an early branch.
branches out there. So that's where it was booming. That's where we heard about Harry Potter back when we were 8 or 9 years old. She introduced us to Sorcerer's Stone. And from then on, when those movies were coming out, we saw them every single year in theaters. We always got super excited about them.
I still do.
Always loved Star Wars as we got a little older. We grew up in a family of all boys, 4 older brothers, but our brothers weren't massive movie sci-fi guys. They were more of action movie people and 80s TV. So we didn't really grow up loving the Star Wars franchise and watching it over and over again.
Although now they do.
Yeah, now they're obsessed.
They fucking
They're
love
obsessed.
it. But they used to be like, that was nerdy to like Star Wars.
They liked horror movies and action movies. That's what we grew up on, horror movies and action movies when we were little kids. And then we had a couple of the video games, but when Phantom Menace came out, Anthony and I were so locked into Star Wars. The pod racing on N64 was excellent. And then freaking Lord of the Rings, Fellowship of the Ring 2001.
Yeah.
We had all 3 of these going on at the same time when we were kids. In Fellowship of the Ring, we had no idea what Lord of the Rings was. It was not on my radar at all as a kid. And I remember being in theaters, seeing other movies, but seeing the cardboard cutouts and posters for this movie. And we were always like, this looks pretty cool. Yeah. And then our dad took us to see it, and it just changed our lives forever. I feel like it was one of the best cinematic experiences of my life, seeing Fellowship of the Ring.
We actually had a Star Wars experience before Phantom Menace came out. I'm not sure if you remember, but our mom took us to see Empire Strikes Back in 1997. It was a re-release in theaters.
Vaguely remember.
And I remember it, not super clearly, but I remember seeing the re-release in theaters in 97.
Yeah, Janice.
And also I remember specifically, like, my first ever cultural reference of Star Wars that I remember is in kindergarten. our pal at school, elementary school, I remember in that class, once every day, a student did a presentation of something they loved. And he did a presentation of Star Wars. He brought these books. He brought like images and magazines and some of the action figures of the original trilogy. And he explained what the Star Wars story was. And I was this little kid. And I still remember clearly him like explaining it to us in class. And I was like, whoa, what is this stuff?
I wasn't in that class.
Yeah, it was my kindergarten class. We were in different classes.
Anthony was just picking his nose, just listening intently.
That's probably exactly what I was doing.
Eating it, learning about Star Wars, and he was accepted immediately into the Star Wars geekery.
That was, I think, my first ever exposure to Star Wars in a significant way.
I wouldn't say, in a significant way. That's a good point, because the thing with Star Wars, it's always been around. Growing up, same thing with Indiana Jones. We knew who Indiana Jones was our whole lives. We knew who Darth Vader was. We knew who Luke Skywalker, Chewbacca were. We always knew those figures. It wasn't as in your face as it is these days, and obviously there was that time period where Star Wars movies didn't come out. And the biggest thing at the time, I guess, the holiday special was the most recent thing that came out for Star Wars when we were growing up in the 90s. But they had action figures for sure, but it wasn't until 99 when Phantom Menace came out that it boomed back into the zeitgeist like nothing before. But I mean, just look at the early 2000s. We had Star Wars trilogy booming. We had the Harry Potter franchise starting up and booming. And then we had Lord of the Rings. And all three, in addition to having great films and great fever of fan bases, they also had great video games, too, which we played, obviously, the pod racing. We played Star Wars video games. We had, on PlayStation 2, we had the Lord of the Rings game where you could play as the trio. You could pick one, Aragorn, Legolas, or Gimli, and run around and do the whole story of Fellowship of the Ring.
And Chamber of Secrets for Harry Potter.
And Sorcerer's Stone had a game, too.
Yeah.
They all had games.
Yeah.
And so these franchises, for us growing up, were so instrumental. And I'm sure many of you listening, you're around our age, either your 20s or 30s, and you grew up with these franchises as well. And that's why they're so special to so many people around the world, because we were such peak ages to be involved with this kind of entertainment. And it was just...
It was the Marvel of our day.
Yeah, it was just so many riches. You know, we were so spoiled in the 2000s with these incredible franchises of IP movies that were working so hard to put out great movies every single year. And they were great adaptations.
And that's what's really so important is all of the Lord of the Rings films are perfection. They're all perfect.
There's nothing wrong with them, not a single thing.
Not a single thing. Seriously. The Star Wars movies, they're awesome. They're not perfect, but they are still good. And I remember growing up loving them all. And then Harry Potter, amazing adaptations. Very few weaknesses, if any. And so, without a doubt, the franchises had a much more consistent amount of quality, and they were so dependable. There's no such thing as a bad Harry Potter movie. Maybe there's a questionable Fantastic Beasts movie. That's not Harry Potter. All the Harry Potter movies are great. All Lord of the Rings movies are top, like, all-time movies. So they were always so good.
Yeah, and, you know, I won't reveal my pick until later in the episode, but I do really want to start breaking these down, and I can't wait. And definitely, we'll put a poll on Spotify. You don't have to listen to Spotify if you don't have to, but if you listen on Apple or watch on YouTube or anywhere else, but just log on to Spotify real quick and vote on this episode on the poll of which do you think is the best fantasy franchise between Harry Potter, Lord of the Rings, and Star Wars. I'm curious to see the results because, again, Twitter was 46% Lord of the Rings, 26% Harry Potter, 27% Star Wars. I'm curious if we'll have a similar readout on Spotify.
Now, the first thing we should break down, I think, is the success of each franchise. We can start off with that as a little appetizer to get everyone get us up to speed.
Yeah, it's a fun one to start with.
Yeah, and also it has nothing to do with opinion. It's just objectivity, just numbers. So let's crunch the numbers. You already did crunch the numbers. How about you tell us what you discovered in your accounting?
It's pretty interesting. Don't trust me with your accounting at home, everybody, but putting together movies with box office, pretty good. I'm good at it.
Wow.
First of all,
amazing.
We have The Lord of the Rings, which obviously is just 3 films. These grossed $2.9 billion at the box office, which is a big deal.
2.98.
What'd I say?
It's not just 2.9.
2.98 billion. So
80
basically
million.
$3 billion at the global box office.
Averaging $1 billion per movie.
Averaging close to $1 billion per movie. Also, just to add on, the Hobbit movies, they also grossed a total of $2.94 billion. Pretty damn close right there. So for all 6 of those films, they averaged $993 million at the box office each.
I always forget how much money the Hobbit movies made.
I forget all the time.
That's fucking crazy amount of money.
We're going to have to do episodes on these.
$1 billion each movie. And again, we're not going specifics into the Hobbit movies because we haven't seen them that many times.
I've only been through them twice,
I'm
honestly.
not very familiar with the Hobbit movies.
I
so I
don't
don't
go to
feel,
the Lord of the Rings whenever I'm feeling like Middle-earth.
Yeah, I don't feel confident to break them down to the extent as we can the other films. So that's why we're not including the Hobbits into this episode.
Next up, we have, but still really impressive to gross $1 billion basically per movie in the 2000s, and then the second trilogy doing the same thing.
So that now makes sense why Warner Brothers is like, let's make some more.
Yeah, they're very profitable.
Yeah.
Next up, we have Harry Potter, which is 8 films. At the global box office, these movies pulled in $7.7 billion. And those 3 Fantastic Beasts movies also pulled in $1.8 billion at the box office. So
pretty good.
If you total the entire franchise up, it's 11 movies, $9.5 billion with an average of $863 million at the global box office. But if you just count the Harry Potter movies, it's much closer to over $900 million at the box office.
So you tell me they didn't do the math for just Harry Potter.
I was doing everything as in just adding The Hobbit as well, but then we decided not to do Hobbit stuff.
Let me do these numbers for you.
It's about
7.7. Oh, my calculator can't get past to the billions.
Just do 7.7 divided by 8.
Oh, yeah. 7.7.
No need to put on all the zeros.
By 8. 962 million per film.
So $962 million per movie for the Harry Potter franchise.
Well done, Harry Potter.
Bravo.
Well done.
And then Star Wars. We've had 12 movies from the Star Wars franchise, and this is obviously the longest running one of the bunch, spanning several decades. 12 movies grossed $10.3 billion at the box office for an average of $853 million. However, I do want to point it out
out
that the final Star Wars film, Episode 9, was over $2 billion. So you could argue that that total's kind of inflated to an extent.
I will argue that the original trilogy all made about 450 million in the 70s and 80s. So if you want to adjust those as coming out now, those are $2 billion releases right there.
100%.
So
that's the thing.
So accountant James didn't do all the accounting.
I didn't realize we were adjusting for inflation.
I'm just saying.
Is that how you pay your bills, Anthony? Do you pay your bills by adjusting for inflation? Like, this is what I paid in 1998 for my phone bill.
I didn't have a phone in 1998.
We had a house phone.
I was 8 years old.
Did you ask Dad about
I'm just
that
saying,
bill?
it would have been better. I wish you had adjusted for inflation the original trilogy.
Well, clearly, if we adjust for inflation, then Star Wars is probably up to $20 billion ish.
Let me just adjust for inflation on the internet.
Well, go for it.
Trilogy adjusted.
Just do the whole franchise, Star Wars franchise, box office adjusted for inflation. Here he goes. Look at this guy.
A New Hope made $3.5 billion adjusted for today's ticket prices.
Goodness
and then
gracious.
the sequels each made $3 billion adjusted for inflation. So, I believe that Star Wars wins this one.
I think it's pretty clear.
Yeah. Star Wars wins the box office battle.
Well, I found $1.6 billion for 2023 ticket prices for A New Hope.
For A New Hope?
Yeah. So I think you're a bit off.
Is that the domestic?
Worldwide.
Worldwide? Well, I think it's safe to say that the adjusted for inflation will put it over the edge of the average movie.
Oh, I think that's obviously true.
So I think that the victory goes to Star Wars for box office. Absolutely.
Clearly. As well as the size of the franchise. It's the biggest. Of course, Harry Potter is one of the most successful book franchises ever. But Star Wars has also got so much lore built from books, graphic novels, video games, TV series now. So if you're looking at which is the most successful franchise, per movie, Lord of the Rings and Star Wars are ahead of Harry Potter.
Yeah.
But when it comes to, I think, merchandise, sales, toy sales, movie, DVDs, TV series, overall profit, I'm guessing and I'm sure that Star Wars is just leagues ahead of Lord of the Rings, and not leagues ahead, but quite ahead of Harry Potter. Harry Potter is very successful with franchise merchandise as well, though.
So Star Wars has earned an estimated $32 billion just on merchandise sales.
In its entire lifetime?
Yeah. Back in 2019 when this report came out.
Okay, and then what's Harry Potter at?
Harry Potter is at
Pull that up for me, Anthony.
$15 billion since the brand's debut.
Not bad.
Yeah, so pretty close. I mean, 15 billion is no joke, but Star Wars obviously is far and away the most successful in terms of merchandising.
Yeah. Not to mention, they've tapped into theme parks now. Harry Potter's doing that as well for the last 5-6 years.
Yeah.
And they're just growing more and more as massive fan bases. And what I love about these three franchises is even though we're about to be hit with even more adaptations and interpretations of them on screens, I don't hate it because they're still very strong franchises and rich with lore, rich with possibility. Even though they're rebooting Harry Potter and telling the same story, they can tell it in a different way. They can be more faithful to the books. They can add more details that got left out from all of the movies. Lord of the Rings, it is what it is. This is the world we're in where Hollywood, entertainment, production companies, they're just going to take an IP and beat it to death. As long as people are still going to the theaters to see the movies, that's what they're going to do, guys. We just have to accept it, whether we want it or not. And a long time ago, well, not a long time ago, I would say about a year ago, I finally accepted it. I'm like, whatever, we're going to get 7 more Lord of the Rings movies. Let's do it. We're going to get a Harry Potter TV series. Let's go. I'm fine.
Yeah, you made peace with it.
As long as the quality's good, what are you gonna do? I mean, there's 100 Frankenstein movies.
Do you think they're gonna stop making Dune? They're just about to get started with Dune.
Woo, they got
they're just
Dune
started.
Prophecies coming out.
Yeah,
we got Dune Messiah in the works.
Yeah.
2026.
They got lots to mine from.
God Emperor Dune. Imagine if they made God Emperor Dune. I would love to see a God Emperor Dune movie.
Yeah, I'm sure they'll try it. I'm sure they'll try it.
Pretty freaky.
I'm sure they'll try it.
I wonder how people would respond. So clearly, Star Wars takes the cake in terms of making the most money.
And also, Star Wars has the biggest scope in terms of storytelling. They have an entire galaxy of stories and planets and kinds of races of beings to use as narratives. And whereas Lord of the Rings and Harry Potter are strictly confined to one planet, Middle Earth in Lord of the Rings, and then Earth in Harry Potter, Star Wars is not confined to anything, and so that adds a huge breadth to the scope of the storytelling.
Well, the planet's not called Middle Earth.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
Well, It's called
One region.
Yeah.
There's one region.
Yeah.
It's Middle Earth. But they can expand on that. Also, the thing with the scope, I'm glad you pointed that out.
Glad you asked.
really wonderful how you said it, even though you're wrong about a thing. The thing with Star Wars is the scope gets bigger, and like you said, the narrative is still there. Harry Potter, specifically, it seems to really work best in a contained scope near or around Hogwarts. Mm-hmm. When they journeyed to America or anywhere else in the Harry Potter world, when they moved on to Fantastic Beasts, it just wasn't the same. There's something about Harry Potter where having adolescents going through the trials in the story and the narratives works really well. I'm not saying they can't figure out a way to do it with adults as leads. I'm not saying that the Fantastic Beasts movies are bad. They're just not quite there. They're not as good as the Harry Potter films. Everybody knows that. And I think if they approached the Fantastic Beasts movies differently, with Newt actually in jungles, we didn't really get that until the opening of the third movie. If they went an Indiana Jones route with Newt, we've talked about this, have Newt saving animals in the wild, and that's his story. That's his thing. He should be in the wild constantly versus just going inside of his briefcase. I'd rather see a story of how Newt got these creatures and saved them versus just him having them and then being in New York City constantly. Underwhelming part of the Fantastic Beasts franchise and a giant misstep in my opinion.
The thing is, like you said, they'll figure out some adult stories. Part of the intrinsic magic of the Harry Potter films is Hogwarts. Hogwarts is, as a setting, as a place, as a world, as a home, is so important to the stories and why they work. And so when the movies aren't at Hogwarts, there's just something not right about it.
I agree.
So it's not... Hogwarts is just such an important facet to the Harry Potter world, which is why, it's when the movies aren't set there, it just feels off. Whereas Star Wars, they bounce around tons of planets, but there are some planets that they always go back to that just feel like, oh, that's Star Wars.
But they might spend a little too much time in Tatooine.
That's true. But Tatooine has it's like this home feel in the world of Star Wars.
Yeah. Whereas Lord of the Rings, we're always on Middle Earth.
Yeah.
And it always feels just right, baby.
No matter where you are.
It always feels good.
Now, even though Harry Potter has kind of the smallest scope, doesn't mean it has a weakness of storytelling.
Absolutely not.
Or characters, which we'll get into. But my next ranking I want to do is the best video games.
Ooh.
Which franchise has the best video games? Now, we grew up playing a bunch of the games that they came out with. Since we've been kids, you could easily say that Star Wars has been putting out a ton of consistently good games. Most recently, though, Hogwarts Legacy was an absolute phenomenal game, the highest selling game of last year. Fantastic playthrough, super fun, and absolutely perfectly made for fans of the franchise. However, the other games in the Harry Potter franchise aren't really that strong. I remember playing them as kids, but they are very simple. They're all wandering around, not too much wand play at all. You couldn't really battle or anything. Lord of the Rings had some good games. We played one of them. I think it was the Two Towers game that we played a ton. That was just a blast.
They've had a bunch of great PC games, Lord of the Rings.
Okay, which we haven't played. But then Star Wars, you have a ton of games over many years. You have pod racing back in the day with Phantom Menace, and then a bunch of recent games where you can play as Jedis, the Starfighter ones where you can play a pilot. I think that if I was going to say who has the best video games, it seems like Star Wars absolutely has that in the bag.
Yeah, Hogwarts Legacy was a big pump for Harry Potter, and Warner Brothers Discovery, they clearly understood what they were doing, and I think they finally understood the potential of a Harry Potter game, open world-esque, actually exploring Hogwarts at free reign. So many pros and cons to that game. I really loved playing it. It felt like I was finally at Hogwarts for the first time. The other games, I think I played like 4 of them growing up. They seemed so rushed because they were timing at the same time as the movies. And, it's tough to develop and make a game in a year. It's not easy to do, especially if it's one studio doing them all. But,
PlayStation, right?
No, I mean like a game studio.
No, I'm saying we played them on PlayStation.
Yeah, we played them on PlayStation. And they were very inconsistent. They had good parts. I liked sneaking around and the prefects. I think that was number 4 or 5. But really, they finally figured out with Hogwarts Legacy, and it created just so much potential for the future of that game franchise. And they made over $1 billion on that game. and clearly they're just going to go hard. I'm very excited to eventually play a sequel in a few years. I'm sure they're hard at work on it right now. Star Wars, they've been so consistent. Obviously, duds in there, but they have a new big game coming out in just a month, less than a month. They have their big game they spent like $120 million on.
Star Wars?
Yeah. And the Battlefront games are great. The Jedi Survivor games are great. And then Lord of the Rings, they haven't been...
Jedi Hunters. Star Wars Hunters.
The what?
Is I think what you're talking about.
The new one?
Yeah.
No, I don't think that's what it's
Jedi
called.
Survivor came out last year, which was a hit. Knights of the Republic. Yeah. That's it. It's the new open world game.
No. Outlaws.
Oh, Outlaws.
Star Wars Outlaws. It's their new big release. They put a ton of money into it. There's a bunch of controversy around it right now.
Oh, really?
There's a lot of mixed reactions to gameplay footage, but we're not here to talk about games.
Gotcha.
But that one comes out in a couple weeks.
Oh, I see.
Lord of the Rings, of course, like I said, consistent, hit or miss here and there. There are some great ones. There's one being remade right now, and the one that takes place at the Battle of Helm's Deep, which should be really cool. So the games have been hit or miss for all of them, I would say. But I think, again, Star Wars probably takes the cake when it comes to the gaming.
And I mean, early days of gaming, I mean, every franchise was hit or miss.
Yeah.
Except for Assassin's Creed, but now that's hit or miss.
Yeah.
Yeah. And Halo is always consistent too.
Yeah, there was Halo's
early
really
days Assassin's Creed, the first 5 were fantastic.
There's one or two in there that aren't as good as you probably remember.
Which one?
I can't remember.
Wow.
I think it was 3.
Dude, 3 is my favorite.
Which one's that?
That's that's colonial America.
Oh, actually, that was great.
That's the fucking banger one.
That was actually really great.
2 was in Venice, which is probably the best Assassin's Creed game they've come out with. And the first one was just super cool. Knights of the Round Table, the Templars and stuff. They were very good in their first 5 games.
You're right. They were a huge hit.
It was after Black Flag. That's where they started dropping the ball.
That's what it was.
Yeah,
Anyways, let's get back into the movie franchises because that's what we talking about here.
Okay, next up, now that Star Wars is just crushing it so far.
They're killing it, man.
However, we're not done. We're just getting started. Next up,
just getting cooking, everybody.
I want to talk about villains. Now,
Ooh.
sometimes when you have a movie that requires a villain, the movie can only be as good as the villain is. All of these franchises have incredible villains, and I want to break down all of these amazing characters that the writers and filmmakers came up with. And it's an incredible embarrassment of riches in these franchises with these remarkable villains. Whereas you look at a lot of contemporary franchises, they struggle with their villains. They're very inconsistent.
They're too nice.
They're too nice.
They're too empathetic.
In these movies, it's just a lot of bad villains, and that's what we like.
Bad dudes.
Which franchise would you like to talk about first?
Why don't we kind of just go in the order that it's written? We can start with Lord of the Rings.
Lord of the Rings.
So Lord of the Rings, insanely strong villains. You know, I think one of my favorite parts about the entire franchise are just the creatures in general and villains. And the Uruk-hai are such a strong force and force of nature in the story. And we actually have our Uruk-hai sword. Let me pull it out.
Get the Uruk-hai sword. Don't hurt yourself.
I'll try not.
It's sharp. It's wicked sharp.
This is made for us by Ironborn Forge a couple of years ago, and this is a legitimate Uruk-hai sword. If you're watching on Spotify or on YouTube, you can see the metallic pointed tip in the perpendicular direction of the rest of the sword. It's very sharp, and this is like zombie apocalypse. I'm taking this with me.
That would take heads off, or at least fucking go right through a head.
But yeah, I think the Uruk-hai, they're so fascinating. They're so terrifying because orcs are scary.
Yeah.
But they're not huge, and they're scary because of how grotesque and disgusting they are.
Yeah, and their
how
voices.
vicious.
Yeah.
But they look nasty.
They're like goblins.
But when the Uruk-hai are birthed by
Uruk-hai,
Saruman in the first film, when the first time those guys came out of the ground, out of the mud, I was terrified. I was actually scared as a kid.
And they roar like lions, and they're just impossibly huge. And most notably, Lurtz, who's like the Uruk-hai leader in Fellowship of the Ring with the white handprint on his face, and he's just running through the woods for 20 minutes.
The White Hand of Saruman.
He is so fierce, and I remember being a kid, and I was absolutely terrified of that guy. But I just couldn't stop watching the films because they were so good. But absolutely, it's rare in a big franchise like this to have your villains be absolutely terrifying like that guy was.
And orcs are scary in general as
Orcs
well.
are scary,
They
yeah.
are smaller, and they seem like they're not as big of a threat, but they definitely are. And what's interesting about them is you find out that they were once elves. Mm-hmm. And they were corrupted by Saruman. They were created and turned with twisted evil and dark magic into orcs. I don't know the exact lore, but they were once elves, which is really fascinating. So orcs are terrifying as well. And these are just the lowly sort of henchmen of the big bads of this movie. And another great kind of villain and antagonist in the Lord of the Rings are the Nazgul.
Yes.
And specifically the Witch King of Angmar, who is the Nazgul that actually is the one that stabs Frodo in the first film and curses him with that wound, which is eventually treated in Rivendell. Great characters, terrifying, remind me so much of Dementors, obviously, but how large they are, how terrifying, the mystery of what's behind their hoods until it's finally revealed. And, you know, Gandalf tells him that they were once kings, they were once men that were corrupted by the ring, and now they are Nazgul, who ride those incredible beasts of the winged,
They are the Nazgul.
no, they're not. The winged beasts are called, where is it? The winged fell beasts.
Fell beasts. Yes, fell beasts.
so-
I always forget that too. I always forget fell beasts.
Those are great characters, which we'll get to later on when we talk about creatures. But when the Nazgul, the Witch King, on top of the winged fell beast is such an iconic image. I have it right here.
Yeah.
If you're watching on YouTube or Spotify, I know a lot of you listen, but I just want to point this out. If you're watching, I have this awesome poster I got at Comic-Con 2 years ago. It's sick. It's Minas Tirith. It's Gandalf on a horse on Shadowfax.
I love it.
On his hind legs with Pippin on him.
Shadowfax.
And then we have the Witch King of Angmar with the sword on fire on the Nazgul on his fell beast, and they're about to battle on there at Minas Tirith, and the city's on fire. It's an
fucking sick,
awesome
man.
drawing. It was one of my favorite. As soon as I saw it at Comic-Con, I was like, I have to have that.
And it's an image of a deleted scene that's in the extended cut.
Is that a deleted scene?
Yeah, that's extended.
So it's actually
that moment, yeah.
close quarters of Gandalf versus the Witch King?
So they didn't put it in the theatrical cut, but you can watch it in extended, where Gandalf approaches the Witch King. In the Witch King, they share dialogue. He like threatens Gandalf, and Gandalf falls from his horse, and he's about to get. He's about to lose to the Witch King, but then, I can't remember what drives the Witch King's attention away. Something does, and then he flies off. But that's that moment.
Is it Aragorn with the army of the undead?
No. This is the Minas Tirith battle. This isn't.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Not the final battle.
Not Return of the King.
Yeah, not
Second to last.
Pelennor Fields.
Yeah.
But it's a great poster, James. I love it. All right, another great villain, obviously, is our guy Gollum. Gollum and Smeagol is a highlight of the Lord of the Rings franchise, especially in Two Towers, where he really shines as a character. And it's that split personality, those incredible scenes of him battling with his inner self, and culminating in an iconic part of the entire film franchise. One of my personal favorite scenes is Smeagol taking power back from Gollum. They're fighting. Eventually, Smeagol taking control of the body and mind again. Although that's not going to last very long. I really love Gollum as a character. He plays an excellent part as an antagonist to what our protagonists are trying to accomplish. And also, he's a villain that the audience can't help but empathize with and feel bad for when you understand what happened to him, how the ring took a hold of him, and that flashback scene, Andy Serkis playing the character again as a more Hobbit-like being, immediately being corrupted by the ring, turning him to murder within seconds. And then seeing the downfall and hundreds of years of toil and turmoil and suffering in the caves, turning into Gollum, as we know, as this being. I think that Gollum is a wonderful character, one of the strongest characters in Tolkien's writing, for sure.
And what's so fascinating him is, like, with the split personality, is how integral he is to the destruction of the ring.
Ironic, yeah.
Which makes him such an ironic character. And I think one of the most important scenes in the entire trilogy of Lord of the Rings is after Faramir and his men capture Gollum, how he turns on his master, on Frodo now, because Gollum has lost control of the body to Smeagol. Smeagol at this point has taken over. He's been able to drive Gollum out because he trusts Frodo, and he'll do what he wants because he's the master of the ring. It's not until he's betrayed that Gollum gets power again. And this is such an important moment of the entire trilogy because this leads to Gollum taking control and corrupting Smeagol again, finally for the first time in a while, and deciding to kill them and get the ring for themselves by their plan with Shelob in the third act of Return of the King. And I think it's just an important part of the character and a moment in the trilogy.
Sneaking.
What were you doing? Sneaking. Next up, we got Who we got?
Saruman.
Great twist. I never read the books before seeing the movies, so I didn't know that he was going to turn into a baddie. But, this is such a terrific performance and a great character. Obviously, in the deleted scenes of Two Towers, you get to see his death. But Saruman is a great character because he is a white wizard who falls under the corruption of Sauron because he believes there's no point in fighting against something you can't stop.
And Christopher Lee's perfect. Like everybody else cast in that film franchise, really well cast. Perfectly embodied Saruman. And I love the battle between him and Gandalf. It's an amazing part of Fellowship of the Ring. It's just amazing that Peter Jackson got away with not showing us his death in Two Towers, and very few people questioned it when it came out.
Yeah.
It's amazing that they pulled it off. Now it's like, obviously you want to watch the extended cut because it's a great scene. It just happens to take 15 minutes.
And they're shouting from the top of the tower to down.
It was
on the
already
ground.
a 3-hour movie. I get why they got rid of it. However, it's a fantastic moment, and the impaling is brutal. It's a moment of the film where it's like, damn, that was tough. That was awesome.
Yeah. The Balrog, also an incredible villain.
Also known as the Balrag.
The Balrag, depending on which episode of Raiders of the Lost podcast you're listening to. The Balrog is absolutely terrifying and a horrific villain. A very ancient creature that obviously the dwarves dug too deep and woke up from his long sleepy time and took over. But the iconic fight between the Balrog and Gandalf is one of the most exciting moments in cinematic history this entire century. And the opening of Two Towers of their fight and eventually Gandalf extinguishing him is one of the most exciting parts of the trilogy. Terrifying figure.
I also really like Gothmog, who's that pale, puffy orc general. And he's outside. He's commanding outside the gate of Minas Tirith. And
Puffy.
it's
It's like a pufferfish.
Yeah.
Pufferfish.
It's a great design, and he's really separated from all the other Uruk-hai and orcs. He was the lieutenant of the Witch King in the Third Age, and so he's working for the Witch King, essentially, and serving in the Battle of Pelennor Fields. He's got a great voice, very cool, scary, and I like how he basically... when the giant stone is coming for him, he just sidesteps it a little bit. Doesn't really seem fazed by anything. But he's a really cool look for something different in the army. And then obviously leading into the ultimate big bad in Lord of the Rings, Sauron, the omniscient presence, a character you never actually see physically embodied outside of the prologue of the entire franchise. In that battle, it is very imposing, and he is massive and terrifying, horribly horrific in battle, horribly powerful, and it seems like an unstoppable force until accidentally gets his hand cut off out of the blue in that very small moment that
Just his finger.
just his finger that he didn't see coming. And my God, it's just, thank God. It's like the franchise works so well because when you see how big and powerful and unstoppable he is in that prologue, you're like, the entire course of the 3 films, you're just like, I hope he doesn't get awoken and find physical form again, because then they're fucked.
Big time.
That's a great point of stakes for the entire franchise of you don't want to see him back.
Yeah, and there obviously is the deleted scene that never made either the extended or theatrical cut, where they originally went with the plan in Return of the King. Aragorn was going to fight Sauron instead of a troll, which he ends up fighting in the theatrical version. And also in the extended edition, you have the mouth of Sauron. The mouthpiece comes out, and they're really terrifying, but it didn't need it. But that's what they were planning to do. Instead of Aragorn fighting a troll, he fought Sauron.
And it's a great piece of fixing footage because it didn't work, it didn't feel right, and you can actually see in a couple of frames the sword of Sauron sticking out awkwardly from the troll's body where it shouldn't be, because they basically superimposed the CGI troll where Sauron battling Aragorn was. And it's just an amazing fact. He was supposed to be physically embodied into his elven form and then turn back into the original form we saw in the prologue, and that's who Aragorn physically fought. You can see behind-the-scenes images of the stunt performer wearing the Sauron armor fighting Viggo Mortensen.
It's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's pretty badass.
It's really exciting, but I agree that it was best to switch it to a troll. Wouldn't have worked as well. It wouldn't have made as much sense that, Aragorn, as powerful as he is, he's got the blood of the Numenor inside of him. Could he really face off one-on-one, even though he's getting manhandled mostly? Could he really face off one-on-one against Sauron? A troll, sure, he can do his best with help. But Sauron 1-on-1, I don't know. I don't know if he could 1v1 him.
I don't think he could. So he barely got out unscathed.
Even with that Numenorian blood, baby. Yeah. That's
Sauron has magic, bro.
He's pretty cool. He's pretty badass. And so these are the best villains
In Lord of the Rings.
of Lord of the Rings. Also, Shelob's an incredible villain.
Shelob, yeah.
Yeah.
But I think that's more of a creature than a monster.
Yeah, they're just lured into this.
Yeah.
It's not like she knows, we have to stop him.
Let's stop the ring.
Yeah.
She's just hungry. She just wants a snack.
It's all part of Gollum.
Yeah.
That's connected to Gollum. So great villains from Lord of the Rings, obviously.
Now let's move into the villains of Star Wars, which there are so many. However, we narrowed it down to our favorite 10 or so of the big bads. Now, let's take it away with, obviously, Supreme Leader Snoke, the villain of The Last Jedi, and the first film, Force Awakens. It's an interesting villain, and I like the hologram setup in Force Awakens, and everybody was like, who is this guy? Blah, 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 blah. Who's Snoke? Who's Snoke? And then, obviously, he has a bit more to do in the second film until he was cut in half by Kylo Ren in a weird moment that, on retrospect, doesn't quite fit. I understand Rian Johnson wanted to pull the rug out from underneath the audience, but it seemed to be setting it up with Snoke in the first film seemed to be pointless after that. So Snoke, I think, could have been cool, but ended up not being very great.
I think they should have stayed with Snoke being the main villain. Mm-hmm. I think that should have been the plan. But that is what it is when you have one script without a future planned out with Force Awakens, then a new director comes in. Let me take the story in a different way. And then that original director comes back for the final film. It's just, they didn't really plan it out very well.
Yeah, we all know this.
We all know the story. Next up, Boba Fett, who is a fan favorite for his role in Empire Strikes Back, tracking them down and ratting on them, telling his boss, Darth Vader, that the boys are here in the city in the clouds with Lando Calrissian. Boba Fett doesn't have too much to do in the film, although he still had an impact on fans around the world for decades. And then they turned him into a hero on a TV show. So, is what it is. Jabba the Hutt, I guess he's on. Yeah, I'm sorry.
He's a great villain.
He's a great villain.
Who are you thinking of?
Nothing.
Who were you thinking of?
No. Because he's really not relevant until Return of the Jedi.
Yeah, then he's very relevant.
Return of the Jedi is great.
Yeah, he bought Han Solo, and he has Leia captured.
Yeah.
So yeah, great villain.
Great villain, disgusting, gross,
Very
vulgar.
memorable. Yeah.
Looks like he smells really bad.
He looks like he smells like shit.
Yeah. I always wonder, what does Jabba the Hutt smell like?
It smells like trash.
Terrible.
Liquid trash.
He's just oozing and drooling shit.
Oh, it must smell terrible in that basement, in
Probably.
that dungeon.
No windows.
Oh my god. Yeah, no windows.
They probably have a lot of incense going with the jazz band.
I hope they do.
Who else we got?
Then we have General Grievous.
Nice.
Really fun villain in Revenge of the Sith. Obi-Wan has an excellent battle with him, and he's become proficient in Jedi lightsaber battles thanks to his training with Dooku. And I love when he pulls out 4 sabers, although someone made a video meme where he pulls out like 60 sabers in front of Obi-Wan. I like the design of the character of this former organic being who's being kept alive by machinery, and only a handful of his organs are still there, living tissue inside of robotics. However, I think they could have gone a little further with the body horror of it. It's a kids movie, I understand. I think the design is really cool, but I think it could have been even more badass and a little bit more Cronenberg-esque. But it's a Star Wars movie.
It's a great sequence, though. Of Obi-Wan.
Have you seen the concept art? There's amazing concept art of General Grievous, because Lucas, the way he operated is he had a team of concept artists. He wrote the characters, obviously, but then he would ask all his artists to come up with designs, and they basically would have contests. They would all come up with designs for characters, and he would end up picking what he liked best and what direction he wanted them to keep going in. And there is some really cool concept art for General Grievous.
Oh, yeah, there is.
Really badass, really scary, really, really exciting that I think could have put it over the edge. Ultimately, General Grievous is very cool, but some of that concept art, like, I wish I could have seen that on screen.
Yeah, this is really cool looking concept art, man.
Yeah.
That's pretty awesome. But I still like the design a lot.
Yeah.
Next up, we have Count Dooku, who's played by our same actor as Saruman, Christopher Lee. And Count Dooku is a great character, obviously, in Attack of the Clones. Back in 2002, this movie came out.
Same.
A little bit of a bait and switch, a little sneaky twist of him being a Sith Lord, I mean. and very powerful. Has a great fight with Yoda at the end of that film.
And Obi-Wan and Anakin.
Yeah.
Yeah, before that. He took them all out.
Yeah, he took them all out.
Yeah.
Well, he didn't take Yoda out, but
He didn't take him out,
he was
yeah.
a good, formidable foe.
He took the other two out.
Yoda took him out,
Yeah.
right?
No. Anakin beheaded him in the third
Oh, yeah,
one.
you're right. Do it. Do it. Sorry about that. Do it. It's been a minute.
Yeah, we're not perfect. We all know. But Dooku's great. He's really fun. Kylo Ren is our next villain on the Star Wars list. Started out very interesting. In this, Kylo Ren has an up and down arc, just like those films. Personally, the sequel trilogy would have benefited with Kylo Ren staying bad, I think. They should have just kept him as like this new Prince of Darkness, becoming a new Vader, instead of having this constant battle internally of morality.
FaceTiming
Rey. I like the FaceTimes.
Force times.
Nice. Force timing Rey. Kylo, what are you doing? Nothing. I'm force timing Rey. Ultimately, the weakness of one of the biggest weaknesses of the franchise is making him good by the end. And I always felt weird about Han Solo and Leia's son being a Sith. It never rubbed me the right way, ever. In his origins with Luke attacking him, or not attacking him, but thinking about attacking him, I never liked the setup for Kylo Ren. Kylo Ren's a cool character, but it would have worked better if he was not related to the Skywalkers. Maybe.
A little too twisty.
Yeah.
I wish we saw the origin of how he became dark. But, we all know the new trilogy is very much an emulation of the original trilogy, where your dark villain is somehow related to a hero of the film or heroes of the past.
They didn't have to.
But they're obsessed with it.
Yeah.
They're obsessed with rehashing. But Kylo Ren, I think, is super badass.
He can be badass as hell.
He can be quite badass, but he can also be very
whiny.
A bit whiny and takes aggression out like a teenager. But the first time I saw it, when he was having an aggressive moment of frustration, just hacking at walls with a lightsaber, I thought it was really cool.
Yeah.
But then on repeat viewings, you're like, he's kind of like a 15-year-old, throwing his controller off a wall, which I understand to an extent. When you give someone that young maybe that much power, they don't take it the right way like Luke Skywalker did, especially if it's dark power.
Yeah.
But overall, I think it's a great character.
Adam Driver is fantastic.
Oh, he's terrific.
He's fantastic.
He is. Everyone knows that.
Yeah.
Next up, we have Grand Moff Tarkin, who is a high-ranking soldier or general of the Empire, and
Don't get it
he's
wrong, man.
basically in command of the Death Star and blows Alderaan to shit.
Oh, yeah.
Great villain.
Yeah.
Who they brought back from the dead.
Yeah.
Well, not from the dead, but in Rogue One, they brought him back with CGI.
Yeah. Yeah, awesome villain. Darth Maul, next up.
Oh, yeah.
Fucking badass as hell.
I love Darth Maul.
Coolest look of all the Star Wars franchise.
When he opened up the other end of his lightsaber.
Oh, my God.
That Antonio Banderas.
Darth Maul is just the coolest, and he became a face of the Phantom Menace film for merchandise, for posters.
The marketing campaign back
Yeah.
then, man, for Burger King, freaking everything
Yeah.
was Star Wars. Darth Maul was a hot commodity.
However, in the film, other than a couple of fights, he didn't really do much, which I think if they had beefed up his role, it would have benefited the film.
I think so, too.
If they had beefed up his role, gave him more narrative stuff to handle, gave him some cool dialogue, I think it really would have excelled that film.
I think you're right. I think so, too.
Yeah. Next up, we have Emperor Palpatine, the big bad of most of the films. Excellent performance from Ian McDiarmid, who played Palpatine in a couple of the original trilogy films and then reprised his role as the Emperor in the prequel trilogy, and then again in Rise of Skywalker.
Did not love that. Didn't love it, guys.
It is what it is.
It
But
is.
he's awesome.
Oh, he's great. Yeah.
He's great. And then the Emperor is fantastic in a bunch of the films. He's just a wonderful presence, and I love the politician version we get in 1 and 2 on the prequels, and then the reveal of who he is in Revenge of the Sith, and he just goes full ham on it, which is a lot of fun.
Really smart mastermind plan
Yeah.
of how he takes over the Senate by creating that terrorist attack, funding it until little do we know he's the one who planned the whole thing to get power of the Senate.
Yeah.
And then to
Turn
just
everyone against the Jedi.
become an emperor. It's a great plan. Turns everyone, and I love his fight with Mace Windu, where we get to really see what he's like on the inside, on the outside.
Yeah.
It's pretty awesome.
Fucking cool.
Do it. And finally, hands down, one of the best villains in film history, Darth Vader, a.k.a. Anakin
Annie.
Skywalker, a.k.a. Annie. Oh, man, what a
Vader.
character. It's Darth Vader. You all know.
We did a whole episode on Vader.
Oh, yeah, we did. Analyzing evil, or exploring evil,
Yeah.
I mean. Exploring evil, Darth Vader, Anakin Skywalker.
That's a good
We
one.
did like an hour and a half on that. It's great. And, we could talk about Anakin Skywalker and Darth Vader for hours and hours. It's such a fascinating character, his past, his origins, the pain, how he was created. And I think he was a much more special character before the TV series started coming out, because the origins of him have changed, and now other people can create beings with the Force, from what I've learned from the shows. But I thought that was a lot more special when it was just saved for one figure. And back when Star Wars had this messianic figure of Anakin, the prophesied being who would save
Paul Atreides of the franchise.
yeah, who would bring power to the Force. And Anakin was great. You loved Hayden in the role, and he brought so much to the performance to bring empathy to the character. And when he turns in Revenge of the Sith, very powerful to create the villain that we all knew and loved for decades.
Mm-hmm.
And I always was so fascinated in how that would happen.
Yeah.
And they did a great job, I think.
Great stuff. Star Wars villains. Let's move on to Harry Potter villains. Now,
Is that our new thing?
the last two episodes, even though Harry Potter, like I said, is the smallest in its scope, that does not mean it's weak, because you could argue Harry Potter has the best overall characters, because J.K. Rowling has this innate talent of crafting characters. Their names, who they are, what they want, what their personalities are like, the way they look, the way they dress. It's so specific.
The way they eat sandwiches.
It's so specific.
Or how they sip.
It's wonderful. And that's one of the joys of reading the books, is the characters.
Yeah, 100%.
Not to mention the villains. And every film has a great set of villains.
Wait. Didn't know you could read. Chamber of Secrets.
Every film has its great specific villains, as well as the overarching villains for the entire narrative. First up on the villain list for Harry Potter, got to go with the Dursleys, who are his first main antagonists, trying to stop him from going to Hogwarts, trying to stop him from becoming who he is.
Treated him like crap.
Treating him like trash, and like a secondhand citizen, not letting him learn who he is, and trying to stop him from living his life. And multiple times after the first film, again, trying to prevent him from going to Hogwarts.
As well as just the way they treat him is horrible.
Yeah.
And it shows the stark difference between what ends up happening to Dudley and what his life is like compared to Harry. And Dudley would have ended up like that anyways, because of the way they spoiled him. It's described in the book before Harry was put on their front step that Dudley was treated like a spoiled brat. So he would have been an asshole. He would have been a spoiled brat, but the way they treat Harry, very antagonistic figure. Next up, we have Gilderoy Lockhart. That's a great pick. I like that being on here. So Gilderoy, he's a bit of a villain, but really it's not revealed until the opportunity to become a villain happens on him.
And he does. And then he's revealed to be a villain in the world.
Yeah.
A big villain in the world.
We know eventually at the end of the film of Chamber of Secrets in the book that he wipes people's memories out and he steals their accomplishments. And writes himself into the stories of true life stories and takes the credit. Horrible guy.
He basically wipes their lives away.
Yeah, it's a terrible thing. We don't know it, and he doesn't do anything villainous in the film until they're down before entering the Chamber of Secrets. After they go down the tunnel, he tries to do the same thing to the boys. He tries to wipe Ron and Harry's memories, takes credit for it, is going to take the snake skin up, couldn't save. The boys, you went crazy after seeing Ginny's remains and her mangled body, but I was there, I saved you guys, so I'm a hero. Mm-hmm. That was his plan. Terrible thing to do, obviously. But he's such a joke that I think sometimes people forget that he is actually an antagonist.
Great villain because he's just done so many terrible things. He's done terrible things to other wizards in his lifetime. And also trying to stop the boys, but then backfiring.
Yeah. Gets what he deserves.
Yeah, absolutely. Next up, we have Barty Crouch Jr. David Tennant, The Doctor plays Barty Crouch Jr., which we see. James dropped something. Oh, thank God that mug was empty, was it?
Very empty.
Yeah, good.
It was empty.
Barty Crouch Jr. is a fantastic character, most notably seen in Goblet of Fire. Brilliant plan to
Literally only seen in Goblet of Fire.
He's not in another book.
Barty Crouch Jr.?
Yeah.
No, he's only in Goblet of Fire.
Only seen in Goblet of Fire. A brilliant plan to break into Hogwarts by impersonating Mad-Eye Moody with Polyjuice Potion. A very powerful wizard for being able to capture Mad-Eye. So he's a force to be reckoned with.
Yeah, in the books it's described as
I love that description.
Let me get into it. Moody made noise about someone breaking into his backyard, which is you can insinuate when he broke in. That's all that's described about the attack on Moody.
Mm-hmm. And Barty Crouch Jr. had a great plan. I love what he's doing because the thing with Goblet is you can't look at Mad-Eye's scenes as Mad-Eye. Even though Barty Crouch Jr. perfectly impersonates him, he is technically not Mad-Eye, obviously. But so you can see the darkness of the character, especially in his dark arts class, teaching the kids things like Cruciatus Curse and the other dark spells, as well as just this brilliant plan of trying to get Harry Potter into Harry Potter.
You sound like fucking what's his name on the Quidditch team? Fucking Potter.
Paul Potter. Oh, the captain. What's his name?
Oliver Wood.
Oliver Wood.
Potter.
Some of my favorite memes are like the meme reactions of Oliver Wood when he can't play Quidditch. When there's something wrong, when Oliver Wood finds out the Chamber of Secrets has been opened and they can't play Quidditch anymore.
I like the memes of Draco Malfoy's lips when he's about to say Potter. It's like Potter.
Potter. Anyways, incredible plan. Getting Harry's name into the Goblet of Fire, which only a powerful wizard could have done, and then turning the trophy into a port key to get him to the graveyard. Great antagonist and very essential to the plot even working. And then killing his own father.
Yeah.
Patricide.
Yeah, it's pretty intense.
Yeah, there's actually a deleted scene of him choking him with a hug, like in Gladiator.
Next to a bust of Marcus Aurelius.
When I heard, I realized I had none of them. Your virtues.
Your failure is a son. No, your inadequacies is a son of my failures as a father.
Embrace me.
Next up, we have Peter Pettigrew, who should probably be investigated for being a bit of a pedo, sleeping in boys' beds for 12 years. So no one wants to talk about this.
Charlie and Ron is messed up.
Pretty messed up, man.
He's seen two Weasley boys naked.
He's probably seen all of them naked.
Yeah,
He's lived at the Burrow for 12 years. Now, Peter Pettigrew, obviously a great villain because this great twist where he was once one of the best friends of Sirius, Remus, and James. He's the one who actually betrayed James Potter. It wasn't Sirius Black.
Yep.
This is one of the reasons why I think Prisoner of Azkaban is such a strong story, is this great twist. And Peter Pettigrew is such an interesting character because he's so terrified of what he's done that he'd rather live as a rat for 12 years than come back to life as a human.
Yeah, he's terrified and will do anything to survive. And speaking of twists, our next list will be the best twists in each franchise, which is an amazing set of twists that I didn't realize how many there are. But Peter Pettigrew, I think, is an underrated villain in the Potter franchise. And on top of that, Sirius Black, he's not on this list, but he is a great villain as long as we think he's a villain for that length of time in Azkaban.
That's a good point.
So he, up until his reveal as being innocent and an ally, he is a great villain to the audience.
And that's important because Azkaban is a movie where Voldemort is really MIA.
Yes.
And we need a strong opposing or antagonistic force to bring fear to the characters in the story like Sirius Black does.
And constant threat. All right, next up we have Lucius Malfoy, one of the biggest Death Eaters in that squadron. He plays an integral part in a bunch of films, most notably in Chamber of Secrets, where he is the one who puts the Diary of Tom Riddle in Ginny Weasley's cauldron, as well as being the leader of the Death Eaters when they encounter them at the Ministry of Magic, and just being a fantastic performance from the actor. What the fuck's his name?
Tom, no.
Off the top of my head. I can't remember off the top of my head. He's great.
From The Patriot, right?
Yeah, he's from The Patriot. I love Lucius. He's that perfect amount of camp and suave, sophisticated, better than you, evil. And he's always a highlight to see on screen.
Jason Isaacs.
Jason Isaacs, thank you. He's perfect as Lucius Malfoy.
He also tried to murk Harry in Chamber
He
of
tried to
Secrets.
kill Harry.
In the movie. That's not book accurate.
Outside of Dumbledore's office.
Isaacs
He
improvised
was pulling out the Avada Kedavra curse. What a fucking loose cannon. He was like, fuck it!
That's the way he says it. All right. Next up, you would never suspect stuttering Professor Quirrell. A great character, a character who was hungry for attention and hungry for respect
Power.
and ambition and power, goes and seeks out Voldemort to end Romania. Voldemort latches onto him and controls his actions, gets him close to Hogwarts and to Harry Potter multiple times in order to try and steal the Sorcerer's Stone in the first film and book.
Great twist. An amazing reveal at the end.
Stuttering Professor Quirrell.
Also, if you watch closely, he does not touch Harry Potter's hand multiple times in the film.
Yes.
Especially the first meeting where Hagrid introduces him.
Fascinating specimen.
Fascinating specimen. Next up, we have Draco Malfoy.
Potter! People are going to... Potter! Watch where you're going, Potter!
We all love Draco. He's a standout in his scenes. Tom Felton did a wonderful job, especially in Half-Blood Prince. But in the early films, he's great comedic relief, as well as immediate choice of light and darkness for Harry. Before they enter the Great Hall, he's given the choice between Draco Malfoy and Ron Weasley, and he chooses Ron Weasley.
Yeah, and a character who the audience really grows to empathize with because his upbringing is not his fault. He was raised by horrible pureblood parents, specifically Lucius, and the fear of being killed and controlled by Voldemort guides his actions in Half-Blood Prince and Deathly Hallows.
Doesn't mean he's not a twat, though.
He is quite the twat. Next up, we have Bellatrix Lestrange, the murderer of Sirius Black, her cousin, played brilliantly by Helena Bonham Carter. One of the best castings, I think, in the entire franchise.
Perfect.
Bellatrix is mad as a bat, and she does it so well. Every scene she's in is lightning on screen. I love when she's on camera.
Kill Sirius Black.
She lights it up. And just a really fascinating and fun time. And then to see Hermione as Bellatrix with Polyjuice Potion and Deathly Hallows Part 2 is so fun.
And Bellatrix is kind of the embodiment of what you would think of when you think of a witch. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
She talks like a witch. She laughs like a witch.
Cackles.
Yeah, she brought that traditional idea of witch personality to Bellatrix that you don't see in any other characters.
Next up, we have Dolores Umbridge, one of the most terrifying and annoying and merciless characters I've ever seen in a fantasy film. She's so terrible, and the outside of her reflects nothing of what's on the inside. She has this pompous attitude, this look. She looks very fluffy and green and very toad-like at the same time. The obsession with kittens and cats in her study, in her
Office.
That's the room I was looking for. I know, man. We're on one today. We've been recording for like 6 hours.
Her voice, her inflection, her innocent demeanor, and even when she's saying something cruel, she uses a high pitch to make it less impactful. Mm-hmm. But she has nothing but darkness inside of her.
It's the illusion of manners. Like, she puts up manners, but she is insanely rude and terrifying. And even though she doesn't kill anyone, she tortures kids. That's horrible. Terrifying. And she's power hungry and corrupted by it.
And my favorite scene of hers is actually in Deathly Hallows Part 1 when they break into the Ministry, and you see that she's holding court against wizard and witch after wizard and witch who are mixed blood, taking away their wands and questioning if they really are a wizard or if they stole their wands. She not only is wearing the locket, which when the other characters wear the locket, it destroys their soul and brings them down into such a degree and fills them with despair and anger. For her, she looks happier than ever. And on top of that, she feels so good that her Patronus above at the ceiling is keeping dozens of Dementors at bay because she feels wonderful. It's a great moment.
She's in her element.
Yeah.
And then we have the man with two names, Lord Voldemort and Tom Marvolo Riddle, the big bad of this amazing franchise, played brilliantly by Ralph Fiennes. Voldemort is an iconic character in fiction of the 21st century and obviously the 90s when those books first came out. I love this character. It's so fascinating, especially when you read the books. You get more of the lore, more of the backstory, especially Half-Blood Prince. That's why that's one of the best books of the franchise, if not the best, is the exploration of Tom Riddle's past, where he comes from, how he was born without love. His mother used a love potion, which explains why he's unable to love. He can't love, in my opinion, is because he was born with a love potion in his father's veins that was made by his mother, and how evil he is, how he'll do anything to stay alive and kill Harry Potter, but he is more afraid of death than probably anyone in the world.
Yeah, and he never really got represented to its full potential in the films, but the backstory behind Tom Riddle, his entire life story, which you get to hear a lot of in Half-Blood Prince, is utterly fascinating, and some of my favorite parts of all the books, which is why Half-Blood Prince is my favorite book in the franchise, because the Tom Riddle story is absolutely incredible. And I think the benefit of the TV series that they're doing is they will really be able to explore Tom Riddle's origins really well.
I agree.
Yeah.
All right, let's get to this next category.
Well, who do you think has the best in that category?
Oh, yeah, the best villains.
I have to personally say that I think the Harry Potter villains are the best villains of all three franchises. Because of how specific they are, how different they are. They all have their strengths and weaknesses, how wonderful the personalities are, varying from one to another. And I just think that, for me, they're so unique in their voices and their representations that they just take the cake, in my opinion.
I'm going to go with Lord of the Rings. Mm-hmm. I think they have the best villains. I love the creature monster villain aspect that can speak English too as well at the same time. I love Uruk-hai. I love Gollum. Gollum, I think, is one of my favorite characters ever in literature and in movies. And I think because he's such an integral character to the story and is so focused on in the second and third films, I think Gollum's just a great strength for this villain category for me. But I think the Balrog's so badass. I love the Nazgul. I'm going with, obviously, in Sauron and Saruman, I'm going with Lord of the Rings, baby.
Respect that. I got HP. Sorry, Star Wars. All right, I have this fun little category before we get to twists. Who's got the best little dude?
Oh, man, that's great.
We got Yoda in Star Wars, Dobby in Harry Potter, and then Gollum in Lord of the Rings. Who's the best little dude?
Oh, man.
I'm going to go with Dobby.
Oh, yeah.
I love Dobby. He's endlessly good and pure in heart and soul. He's instrumental to helping save the day multiple times. And he brings so much comic relief sometimes. And then his death is one of the saddest parts of the entire franchise. And I don't care who you are. If you watch that scene after watching the other 6 films before it, you will cry like a baby.
Such a beautiful place to be with friends.
Oh, I just got goosebumps.
I'm going with Gollum for all the reasons I just said. I love Gollum so much. He also has the same strange, ugly cuteness that Dobby has, plus a lot of comedic relief.
And Dobby and Yoda, they both have like similar builds and ears.
Similar builds? They both have the same, they squat the same.
But real quick, before we get into twists, best overall characters. Just an overall character list. I think, honestly, Harry Potter, the characters from the good and the bad, and the in-between, there's such a huge spectrum of brilliant creation in her writing with all of these people and beings. I think that, for me, the Harry Potter characters as a whole are overall superior to Lord of the Rings and Star Wars characters.
I would say not superior. I would say I like them more. So I'm going to go, if I had to pick overall characters, I'd go Harry Potter as well, because there's so many more.
Yeah.
There's so many more characters in the Harry Potter franchise throughout all the books, even more. And
but the amount of detail you
get,
like
each
just from
character
like
has so much
Rita
going on.
Skeeter as a 10th tier character, but still you know so much about Rita and you understand who she is.
Cedric's in one movie and his tragic death, and there's so many characters in every movie, new faces constantly. I think that's one of the greatest strengths to the Harry Potter franchise is how many great characters there are.
And the amount of detail in the writing is just unbelievable to behold.
I'm curious why the villain list, you didn't put Snape in there.
Well, Snape's not a villain.
He's villainous.
He's villainous, but he's not a villain.
True, it's a good point.
It's hard. I mean, I didn't put... That's the same reason I didn't put Sirius Black on our villain list for Harry Potter.
All right, that's a good point.
Snape was never a villain. Everything he did acted in the benefit of Harry.
Well, I mean, after he caused his parents' death.
Yes. But in our stories, in these films, he's not a villain.
He's both. He was a villain.
I know, but in the course of these films, he's not a villain.
He was a villain, yeah, I'm just saying.
He's not a villain in these films.
Past tense, though.
I'm gonna punch you in the face.
You can't reach me. You must not hurt James Deveney.
James has given Dobby a sock, a Dune sock.
Got a lot of Dune going on today.
Oh yeah, lots to Dune.
I got my Paul Atreides shirt. Got my Dune poster.
We have a lot of lists to still do. We have the best twists in each franchise. We have the best battles in each franchise. We have the best directing in each of the film's franchises. The best acting and performances in each franchise, as well as the best moments, the best creatures and monsters, best cinematography. We have a shit ton to still go through. Do you want to get right into twists?
Yeah, let's do twists.
Why not? So twists, I was surprised how many twists one of these franchises have. Now, I knew there were a lot, but I was absolutely mind blown when I put this list together. So first, let's start with Lord of the Rings. Has some very good twists, but it's not really known as being a big story with big twists. Obviously, the biggest one has got to be Gandalf in the Two Towers being revealed that he survived the fall with the ball rag.
We got him. We got Anthony.
Accident. That was an
The
accident.
ball rag. Balrog, Anthony. Get it right.
He survived the fall with the Balrog and eventually came back to life as a new white wizard, which is revealed in the forest when Legolas, Aragorn, and Gimli are being hunted, they think, by the new white wizard, who they're assuming is going to be Saruman.
The White Wizard approaches.
Be ready. And they turn around, and it's Gandalf the White. Oh, that is what they used to call me. Gandalf.
Gandalf the Grey.
Great twist. Wonderful twist.
Blew my hair back,
Yeah.
dude.
Nobody saw it coming.
I was 11 years old in theaters like, what?
Next up, Aragorn being the true king. That's something from the first film. You're like, he's Strider. He's this wayward wanderer, adventurer. To him actually be the heir to the throne and the rightful user of the sword is a great twist.
Yeah, I guess it's kind of a
It's
twist.
hinted at.
It's hinted at multiple
Yeah.
times. I wouldn't say so much that it ended up being a twist because Gandalf brings it up multiple times.
That's why I'm saying.
He brings it up to Theoden. He brings it up to what's his name? The steward of Minas Tirith, Boromir's father. So he brings it up multiple times. So,
Denethor.
Denethor.
Yeah.
I wouldn't exactly call it a twist.
I would say a twist from the first film. And also,
Sure.
and also, like,
Sure, yeah, okay, I'll give you that.
And also, like I said, Lord of the Rings, the twists aren't big. Like
And
I said,
the way we learn about him is, you're right, he's
Yes.
Strider.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a twist that he was raised by elves.
the twist is like we first see him in the bar. His name's Strider, and then this is the fucking heir. It's a good twist at first.
Yeah.
But like you said, it's hinted at, which is why I prefaced it by the twists in Lord of the Rings aren't very strong twists.
Good preface.
Thank you. I was careful. Next up, we have Frodo being corrupted by the ring at the end. They're in Mount Doom. He's above the lava. He's got the ring in his hand. Destroy it! What are you waiting for? And then the chorus sings. He puts the ring on. No!
No.
The ring is mine.
It's fucking great.
It's great. Amazing twist nobody saw coming.
If you didn't read the book.
Shut up. King Theoden being possessed by Saruman when they first get to Rohan. And King Theoden is old and weathered and crispy and
Crispy.
ashy. You're like, damn, this guy is dying or something.
It's an interesting way to describe an old person.
But we realize he's been possessed by Saruman, which Gandalf the White frees him of the possession, which is great. And then he returns to his normal appearance and state of mind. And then Saruman, great twist in Fellowship of him being in league with Sauron when Gandalf goes to confront him. Hey, I found the ring, bro. We need help. And then he's like, I know.
Your love of the halfling's leaf has, what's he say?
Yeah, the halfling leaf, yeah.
Has worsened your senses or something like that.
It's clouded
It was
your
under
sen-
your nose the whole time.
Yeah.
In the Shire.
So Saruman, who, being the White Wizard of Middle-earth, is meant to protect Middle-earth from evil and from someone like Sauron, has chosen to go into league with Sauron, which is a great twist because he is portrayed as a benevolent figure, although he does have like a moral grade to him for sure in the way he's talks to Gandalf, but a superiority. That's what I'm thinking of. He has a superiority you can feel, as Gandalf is definitely inferior to him, but you still think he's in the course of for good, which is a great twist when Gandalf goes to confront him and it's revealed that he's known about Sauron and has joined him.
Eowyn has a little twist. Arwen has a twist.
Arwen's twist.
Arwen has a twist where she's traveling to the Undying Lands after Aragorn breaks it off. He's like, sorry, sweets. Can't be with you.
It's you. It's not you. It's me.
It's not you. It's me. It's really her. And she sees the vision of their son on the journey to the Undying Lands, and she turns around and goes back.
Is that a twist?
It's kind of a twist.
Not really a twist.
Yeah, you think she's going to go to the Undying Lands. Like, oh, twist, she's not.
Well, I mean, not really a twist because you're seeing. It's just story unfolding.
Just like Strider.
I wouldn't say that's a twist.
I'm just saying, it's the same.
Twist is the twist of Strider is he's just this guy in a bar, a random guy in the bar, and he's actually the heir. That's the twist. Eowyn encounters a moment. Arwen encounters a moment in a vision and then makes a decision. That's not a twist.
You're gaslighting. You're withholding information.
That's a change in direction is all.
Exactly.
No, it's a change in but it wasn't just revealed. It was just she's going based upon what she's learned.
Aragorn being king wasn't just revealed. That was mentioned multiple times.
I don't think you understand what a twist is right now.
I don't think you understand what a twist is.
Arwen going back to Rivendell is not a twist. It's just a change in the narrative. It's not a twist. It's not a crazy reveal.
You know who else has a great twist? Treebeard.
All right, let's get into Star Wars twists, which has one of the best twists in cinema history right off the bat with Darth Vader being Luke Skywalker's father, Anakin Skywalker, which was revealed in Empire Strikes Back, the best Star Wars movie.
That's how you always refer to it.
Luke and Leia are revealed also in Empire Strikes Back to be twins at the end. Rey Skywalker is actually Rey Palpatine, but she changed her name to Skywalker. So Rey was always a Palpatine, daughter of Emperor Palpatine. Jodie Comer plays Rey's mom.
Oh my God.
Jodie Comer.
Holy crap.
Yeah. One of her first big roles.
Wow.
I can't remember who her dad is. It's another great actor played her dad. And then Luke Skywalker versus Kylo Ren in The Last Jedi. Battle on Crate. Really cool, really epic, visually stunning. More! Revealed to not even be there. He was just chilling on his island still.
Drinking titty milk.
Great twist. Nobody saw that coming. And then the reveal in Revenge of the Sith of Palpatine being Darth Sidious, a dark Sith Lord. Great twist.
Fighting Mace Windu.
Oh, yeah. Now, let's get into the heavy-duty stuff. Woo. Harry Potter. Oh, my God. All right, Harry Potter is filled with twists. And they're not just twists; they are fucking huge twists.
Yeah, and we probably didn't even get them all.
No, these are just like the big ones. How about you? I've been talking a lot of twists lately. How about you take it away with some?
That's a twist. I didn't see that coming. Okay, Harry Potter twist, baby. First of all, Sirius Black being completely innocent and an ally is quite the twist.
Oh yeah,
he's actually was the best friend of James and did not betray him.
And then they
tried to hunt down Peter Pettigrew.
Yeah, and then the madness that was formed in him from staying in Azkaban so long turned him into like a malevolent-looking figure.
Yeah.
And the way he behaved and acted, especially with his newspaper photos, but it's because he was falling into madness in Azkaban.
Chamber of Secrets has multiple twists. I mean, first of all, Ginny opening the Chamber of Secrets is a great twist, but that's all connected to the riddle. It's the Diary of Tom Riddle is a
great
massive twist. You think it's just some magical diary that talks back to you and tells you some interesting stuff, but it ends up being the Diary of Tom Riddle, which even bigger of a twist ends up we learning later on is a Horcrux. That's the biggest twist of all in the Chamber of Secrets film, I think.
Fuck yeah, there's a lot of twists in that movie.
Very twisty. Very twisty. Obviously, Harry Potter being the final Horcrux.
Great twist.
That Voldemort never meant to create is one of the greatest twists in fantasy lore in general. Moody being Barty Crouch Jr., we talked about that earlier. That's a great twist. Quirrell being Voldemort's ally and having Voldemort in the back of his head is, probably a gross way to live.
I'm sure it wasn't comfortable.
Probably.
I'm sure it was weird.
Like, how are you supposed to sleep at night? You have to be a side sleeper, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
Also, when you go to the bathroom, it's kind of
that's
awkward.
what I was gonna say, man.
Sorry, Lord. I'm sorry, Lord. I ate tacos today.
It was Taco Tuesday in the Great Hall. The elves were strong with the cumin. All right, even greater twist than Harry being a Horcrux, arguably, is Snape being a hero all along, protecting Harry and also revealing through his memories to Harry while he's dying that he's been helping Dumbledore this entire time, his entire life at Hogwarts.
After all this time. And also even like in movies like Sorcerer's Stone, where he's the one he was saving Harry.
Yeah.
When at the Quidditch pitch, when we thought that he was trying to curse Harry. Things like that. Him always really trying to aid and assist Harry, even though he's a little reluctant to. He's always been committed to it.
And being in love with his mother as well.
Yes.
Next up, we have Lupin being a werewolf. Great twist that obviously maybe people can predict, but you don't see coming if you've never read the book. Scabbers being Peter Pettigrew. Another awesome twist that takes 3 movies to reveal. Time traveling in Azkaban. Who saw that coming? That's super fun.
Dude, I love the time turner in Azkaban. And that second half of that film, the third act, is really such a highlight of the entire franchise.
Yeah, the Shrieking Shack.
How did she get here? Did you? She wasn't here. How did you get here?
The Shrieking Shack's true purpose, not just a haunted house, it's where Remus Lupin would go and transform as a student at Hogwarts. Actually, Dumbledore is the one who built the Shrieking, or had it built.
In the Whomping Willow, of course, like the same motive. Those are there for a purpose. They weren't there just to. It's not just a random house that's haunted. And the Whomping Willow wasn't just planted there by accident. They're all serving a purpose for Lupin.
The Triwizard Cup actually being a port key in the final round of the Triwizard Tournament, sending them to the cemetery where Thomas Riddle Sr. is buried and where Thomas Riddle Jr. is reborn. Thomas Riddle being Voldemort, awesome twist that we find out at the end of Chamber of Secrets.
I also think a great twist is that Tom Riddle was not pureblood.
Yeah.
I think that's a great twist that kind of flies under the radar.
Never mentioned the movies,
never
though,
mentioned in the movies, but he was not a pureblood
himself. Dumbledore knowing that Harry would have to eventually sacrifice himself is a great twist that he had to hold on to. Raising him as a pig for slaughter. And then, oh, you had one from Fantastic Beasts that Anthony just eliminated.
I eliminated it.
All right, so those are our Harry Potter twists.
I gotta say, the other 2 franchises can't even compete with the twists in Harry Potter.
They can't.
Because they are all really big, significant twists and play huge parts in the narratives.
Yeah, in every movie, she was great at writing a story with great twists.
It's amazing. Each book had huge twists in it.
You could argue that Sorcerer's Stone, Snape trying to protect the Sorcerer's Stone, not trying to steal it, is a twist because you think it's a twist.
Yeah.
Quirrell being the one trying to steal the twist, steal the stone is a twist.
So twisty.
Super twisty.
I'm sure we're missing some. If you guys, this is just a quick off the top of our heads major twists, but I'm sure we missed a bunch.
There are.
Because there's so many.
There are a lot.
Yeah. Trelawney, we think she is an incapable fortune teller, is the one who told the prophecy. True. That was a twist. You think she's inept.
She's a seer.
Yeah. But she really does have the gift.
She does.
That's a twist.
Yeah, there's a twist. Lots of twists in there, guys.
Yeah.
Draco being the true owner of the Elder Wand is a twist.
Oh my god, great twist. Great twist.
See that?
Damn.
Look at that.
Fucking A,
They're
man.
everywhere,
so
man.
So many twists.
They're all over that movie.
Fuck yeah, man. I love it.
All right. We got still more to talk about. We have to talk about battles, world building, music, directing, acting, music, all kinds of stuff. But how about we head to our intermission, and then we'll come back and finish up this episode.
Sounds great.
And the best way to support Raiders of the Lost Podcast is to become a patron today at patreon.com/Raiders of the Lost Podcast. Not only do you get access to weekly bonus episodes of the show, but you also get access to the ad-free version of every single episode, plus access to our Discord. Patreon's the only reason we can do the show full-time, so thank you to everyone past, present, and future for signing up to Patreon. Also, leaving those 5-star ratings and reviews on Spotify and Apple is an excellent way to help support us. These reviews help us get charted on platforms as well as Spotify and Apple. It adds reputability. It makes us look pretty good, as well as we love to read those 5-star ratings out on Apple Podcasts, where you can write a special note for us in your review. Another great way to support the show is just share us. If you know someone that loves Lord of the Rings, loves Star Wars, Harry Potter, loves them all, loves the movies in general, just send them this episode and send them every single episode you love of Raiders of the Lost podcast.
This episode, of course, is sponsored by our friends at movieposters.com, the #1 place to get your posters online today. Be sure to use our promo code Raiders10 at movieposters.com to get 10% off your order right now. They have a huge selection of pretty much every movie and TV show imaginable in their poster library, as well as all sorts of sizes, framing, and even backlighting for your poster needs. We have these all over our set, all over our home, high-quality prints. James has a great backlit frame poster behind him of Fellowship. For these franchises, Lord of the Rings, Harry Potter, and Star Wars, they have dozens upon dozens of poster choices for each film. You have your pick. They are incredible posters over at movieposters.com. Our friends. Again, use our promo code there, Raiders10, to get 10% off your order right now.
All right, let's get into this movie competition. I mean, the intermission. And start the movie quote competition. Or do you want to do framed first? We do framed now, right?
We did framed already today. We recorded today.
Well, we can do past framed episode. We can do like a past framed or no?
Let me see if you can. Let me Google it.
Because this is our second episode we're recording today. And in the last episode, which was Alien Romulus, we did framed.
Mm-hmm.
And I kicked Anthony's butt in it. I kicked his butt, guys.
Maybe you can go back to other days. Hold on, let me do framed movie August.
Yeah, just go to the archive and pick a number.
Oh, can you? Oh, cool. I didn't know they had that. Let's do it.
Yeah, so go to framed and then at the calendar at the top.
Oh, this is
screen
great.
record. You should screen recording over there.
I will. 1 second while I pull it up.
Here we go.
Okay, framed, and then where do I click?
The calendar at the top.
Oh, calendar. Cool.
And then it says there's a bunch of archive with numbers.
Okay.
Pick a number.
876.
876. Let's pull it up. Number 876. Let's see what this is.
It
Interesting.
looks like a broken car windshield.
Oh, I got this. I think. I'm going to go Fargo.
I'm going to go with...
I'm wrong.
It's not Fargo. I'm going to go with... Damn. Oh, what is this? Is this Lady Vengeance?
I'm going to guess it my second guess. I got it on my second guess.
What is it?
Well, you try second guess. See if you get
Lady
it.
Vengeance. No. Oh, it's Sympathy. Wait, no, it's England.
Come on, you can do this.
Sid and Nancy.
Yep.
Sid and Nancy.
I got it before Anthony.
Well, you were on that photo before me. We should do it so that we get to the same photo at the same time.
It's a good point.
Yeah, because
Well, we both got it on the second photo.
Yeah, we both got on the second photo.
Okay, that's the end.
There's a tie.
That's the moral of the story.
What we should do in the future is we wait until the other person is ready to guess, then we guess together.
Okay, cool.
That way you don't have 30 seconds with the photo before I have, and then brag.
Any
about
new
getting
listeners are like, what are they talking about right now?
Everyone knows framed. Everyone knows framed.
So our intermission, we always play games, but now we're incorporating framed.
Yes.
All right, let's get to the movie quote competition. Are you ready, Anthony?
Ready.
You know what you get from being a hero? Nothing. You get shot at. A little pat on the back, blah, 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 blah. Attaboy. You get divorced. Your wife can't remember your last name. Kids don't want to talk to you. Get to eat a lot of meals by yourself. Trust me, kid. Nobody wants to be that guy.
That is... Which Die Hard movie is that?
I love how he knows it's John McClane.
I'm going to go with Live Free, Die Hard.
Yes, sir.
Which is actually a fun action movie.
Live Free or Die Hard.
I like that movie. It's a good time. That movie is just fun.
Is Jack Courtney in that?
Nope, that's the fifth film.
Where he's his son, right?
So Live Free or Die Hard is...
Justin Long.
Justin Long.
Gotcha.
And it's a lot of fun.
I haven't seen it since it came out. I remember...
The fifth one sucks.
He crashes a car into a helicopter. It's like, you killed a helicopter with a car.
Dude, you should watch it.
Yeah.
I watched it, I think, early this year, and I had a really good time with it. I think you really dig it. It's better than you think it is, honestly.
I haven't seen it since it came out.
It is really funny. It's an all-around great time.
Cool.
All right, here's my quote. Our lives are not our own. From womb to tomb, we are bound to others, past and present. And by each crime and every kindness, we birth our future.
I don't know, but that opening sounds really familiar. I'm blanking.
Cloud Atlas.
Good one.
Yeah.
Guess this movie release here, Anthony. Pirates of the Caribbean at World's End.
2008. 5.
7.
7.
2007.
Damn. What year did Gothica come out?
2004.
2003.
Damn.
2003.
It's a good movie.
Part of Downey's Renaissance.
Yeah. Just come up. Okay, Anthony. Movie pop quiz time. What movie features Rami Malek, Rihanna, and Liam Neeson?
What? Oh, it's Battleship.
Yeah. Battleship.
I didn't know Rami was in that movie.
Yeah.
Oh, man, I had no idea.
He plays like a Navy officer.
I don't think I've seen Battleship. Honestly.
Me neither.
Honestly. Okay, what Bond movie is Halle Berry in? Which Bond movie is Halle Berry in?
Which one is that? Oh, my. It's Pierce's last one, too.
Make a guess.
What's it called? Hold
Make
on.
a decision.
Days in the title. Like, fucking A. This is going to piss me off. The World Is Not Enough.
Die Another Day.
Die Another
You're
Day.
right. There's the
I
day
knew Day was in it.
Die Another Day.
Die Another Day.
Man, you almost had it. You were close.
She's so fine in that movie.
She's great.
All right, Anthony. Do we have any haters this week? Any unsubscribes? What are we working with?
We don't. We recorded another episode right before this, and I accidentally went through the entire magazine.
How could you?
I emptied the clip.
You emptied the mag. Let me see if I can find some real quick.
Maybe we got some recently.
We might have some on Twitter. We often do get them. Here we go. I got one on Twitter from Durantula on our Greece video. We're doing a Greece trip. Anyone can join us. All you have to do is sign up on our Instagram link, Trova Trip. Durantula wrote, "Wish I could go. Could you get me like a magnet chain or something? Might have to unsubscribe if you don't." Just kidding. Sounds way fun though.
Thanks, pal.
We'd love to get you a chain. Then we'd have to do it for so many people. You know, it is what it is. But thanks for leaving that unsubscribe. That's all I got on Twitter.
Yeah, I burned through our clip of unsubscribes today. Let me just see real quick. Maybe I
It's
skipped
okay.
one.
Don't worry about it, man.
No,
don't worry about it. You know,
I
it's
wanna
only
get
people's
one.
favorite part of the show, but you blew it.
I want to get one in there. I
want it.
I want it. No, I think we got them all.
Don't worry, let me get to a review. So we have a great review from.
Oh yeah, never mind. That's an old one. There's none.
Also sad we don't have any new reviews. God damn it.
No new reviews.
This
We'll get them.
this intermission's a bit of a letdown, guys.
We did Framed.
Wait, I found one. Postability. 5 stars. Best film podcast out there. 2 gents who know their cinema. Continuous content with great laughs. I can count on these dudes to give the most up-to-date TV and film news. Hates on Ghostbusters. Unsubscribes. Movie news every Sunday, baby.
Every Sunday.
People love that episode.
It's a great episode.
My streaming recommendation for this episode is going to be Lord of War on Hulu. How about you, Anthony?
Out of Time on Max. Tony Scott's excellent thriller starring Denzel Washington.
Did you know that Tony Scott starred in Ridley Scott's first short film?
Really?
Called Man with a Bicycle?
Never knew that.
It's called something like that, yeah.
Very cool.
But Tony acted in it.
Wow.
He was Ridley was an art student, graphic design school in
That
England.
makes a lot of sense.
And he decided, I want to make movies. Now he made a movie with his brother, Man with a Bicycle.
Then they made 1,000 commercials.
Over 3,000.
Yeah. Shit ton of commercials.
A lot of commercials. All right. Let's get back into our episode on the fantasy franchises and let's talk about best battles.
Best battles.
So Lord of the Rings arguably has some of the best battles in cinematic history. I mean, I'm talking about Helm's Deep.
Fuck yeah, baby.
What an epic 35 minutes of cinema. Holy crap.
Is that all you can muster?
Helm's Deep has one weakness. It's a borderline drain. It's pretty incredible. What an awesome sequence of events. Then we have the Battle of Pelennor Fields. Some of the best music in the franchise in general, but really exciting moments.
Fuck yeah, man. The fucking cavalry charge.
Yeah.
Oh my god, it's amazing.
Battle of Maranon, which is at the Black Gate in the end of the film.
Moranon.
Of Return King.
Moranon.
Return of the King. The skirmish at Hen at the end of Fellowship of the Ring, the river.
Aragorn taking on 50 Uruk-hai by himself.
Boromir holding his own.
Yeah, it's incredible moments in that battle.
Battle-
and it's, what's different is they're all split up.
Yeah.
Yeah,
The Battle of Isengard, where Treebeard attacks Isengard.
looks great, man. Still looks good.
Even
to
the
this day.
the miniatures looks really great.
Amazing.
The Battle of Osgiliath, where Faramir is fighting, and when he has the
river,
the hobbits captured. Oh, the okay.
the Battle of the
Osgiliath
river.
is
Yeah.
when he loses.
Yeah, they
and
lose the town.
charges in, you're right.
Yeah, great fight, and I love how they're waiting for the orcs and Uruk-hai to arrive on the boats, and it's just a brutal battle. That's like some great close quarters combat that you don't see that often.
Aragorn versus the Nazgul at Weathertop in the first film.
Mm-hmm.
And then we have the Siege of Barad-dûr in the prologue.
Great, with Elrond just being a badass.
Nothing but fire. You're forgetting a couple.
Throw some in there.
You're forgetting Fellowship of the Ring and the Mines of Moria.
Oh yeah,
The
against
whole
the troll.
entire third act is a battle.
True.
I mean, we have the crew versus the troll
End
and
of
orcs.
the second act.
End of second act going into third. The crew against the trolls.
Yes.
The troll and then the orcs.
The
as
troll
well as-
fight is great,
I mean, Gandalf versus the Balrog. This is the opening part of that fight, which is a great battle.
and then fighting Balrog and opening the two towers is amazing.
The battle against the wolves, the whatever I can't remember. What
Oh
the wolves are
yeah.
called.
Oh my god, that's
And
a
two
great
towers.
battle.
That's
Yeah.
a great fight.
Great fight.
You know,
Rohan versus the
Theoden.
riders. Yeah,
and so there's lots of great battles that you're missing, bro.
I know. It's just off the top of my head. I could have used some help.
Sam versus Shelob.
Great battle. Great battle. One of the best.
That's a good one.
That's a good one.
It really is.
Not bad, man. Hey,
Thanks.
you're getting pretty good at this.
I do it pretty well. That's what I do for a living, man.
We're doing it too much. All right,
I do it way too much.
Let's get into Star Wars, filled with great fights, lightsabers, and huge military stuff alike.
Military stuff, baby.
Battle of the Heroes is the best battle, best fight. It's fantastic.
Revenge of the Sith.
Yeah, Revenge of the Sith is the highlight of that movie. It's just a wonderful piece of action cinema, spectacle and CGI and visual effects. Darth Maul versus Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan is just right up there too. An amazing sequence of events. I wish that my one qualm to it is that we keep cutting away from it in the film, and he just keeps cutting back to the star battle. I'm always just like, go back to them, man. Go back to them. It's really fantastic. Great stunt
You
work.
gotta hang out with Anakin, bro.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. But great stunt work, great set design, an amazing ending with the conclusion of Obi-Wan being stuck behind the gates, waiting for Qui-Gon to help Qui-Gon, and then watching his master die, and then going 1-1 against Darth Maul, who even after killing Qui-Gon seems even more invincible. And it's a great conclusion.
It's a good 1v1.
Yeah, it's fucking sick.
Yeah, it's pretty great.
That 30 seconds they have going at it, it's great.
I loved it. We have Luke versus Vader in The Empire Strikes Back.
Yes.
What an iconic fight. Just the
Oh my
image of their silhouettes with their sabers
Yes.
in the air. Oh my God.
Amazing.
That's the stuff of dreams, man.
And it's only because the choreo in the modern films is so good that we put this one below those, because the Luke Vader is visually incredible.
Yeah. I mean, you can also put Obi-Wan versus Vader from Force Awakens on here, because even though it doesn't have that intense athleticism, it's a very meaningful battle, a very meaningful fight.
Okay, hold on. You said Obi-Wan versus Vader in Force Awakens.
I mean, A New Hope. I'm sorry. In A New Hope.
Gotcha.
Sorry about that, guys. We've been podcasting for 6 hours today.
I was like, in my head, I was like, did I forget about a really important
You're like,
scene?
Obi-Wan.
I was like, am I crazy?
Obi-Wan versus Darth. A New Hope.
Yes, great moment.
Important fight.
Great fight. Yeah. Then we have, looking at large-scale battles, the Battle of Yavin, which is the finale battle in New Hope.
Yavin.
Yavin! The Battle of Yavin. Excellent finale. So exciting. Nobody had ever seen anything of that scale and visceral quality before. The Battle of Hoth, which is in the snow with the AT-AT walkers, and then Luke coming up with the idea of tripping them up on wires. Great, incredible visual effects, special effects, and miniature work. Yoda versus Darth Sidious, which I love. I really enjoy it in the Senate Hall. It's a great battle when they're jumping around the pods and stuff. I really like that one. Then we have Yoda versus Count Dooku. When that happened, you know the whole theater was like, oh shit, Yoda's fucking jumping around like crazy. It's insane. Really fun to see him do that for the first time. little bit. I mean, the CGI doesn't age that well, but I remember as a kid thinking it looked amazing.
I think it still looks good, man.
Obi-Wan versus General Grievous, which we talked about earlier, is a great battle. I love. This is where we got the iconic "Hello there." Great fight. Battle of Coruscant, which is the opening space battle in Episode 3.
Croissant.
Coruscant.
It's like croissant.
The Battle of Croissants. Almond versus butter.
Chocolate, baby.
Woo.
Actually, a good almond croissant.
That's what I'm saying. Okay, I went to the bakery down the street.
You went to Fondry?
Yeah. It's best. One of the best. It's the
What'd
best.
you get?
I just got the basic butter croissant
When did you go?
a couple weeks ago.
And you didn't bring any home?
I was going to surprise you, but you weren't home. So then I just ate the whole thing. I was going to see if you wanted to split it with me.
Listen, Anthony. If you ever go to that bakery, just get as much as you can.
And I'll tell you, the croissant was 10 out of 10.
How long did you have to wait for?
5 minutes.
What time did you go on? Did you go on a Friday?
I went at 11:30
On Friday?
on a Sunday. So this new bakery opened up in our neighborhood, and every day there's a line of 50 people before they open.
They're only open Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
Yeah, right now. But I realized driving by it multiple times that after that big rush, it's pretty standard of a line.
Yeah, but I'm sure a lot of the really incredible items are sold out probably.
No, they had everything.
They had everything.
Yeah, they're constantly baking there. They had everything there. But I only waited 5 minutes, and then I was like, let me try the croissant, the butter croissant, and it was the best butter croissant I've had in America.
And so you only got one thing?
Yes. It was only me, man. We'll go again. We'll go together. We can go tomorrow.
We go on Friday?
We'll
Tomorrow's
go on
Thursday.
Friday. We'll go on Friday.
Okay, we'll go on Friday. We're going, man.
But it lived up to the hype. It's a 10 out of 10.
I'm getting 3 items. You can buy max 3 per person.
Yes. I'm going to get the pistachio strudel next time. Oh, my God. It looks so good. But it was phenomenal. It lived up to the hype.
All right, back to the Battle of Croissants. We have the first battle. Geonosis in Episode 2. Another great fight.
And the Battle of Naboo, it's okay. It's fine.
It's pretty good.
The droids, it's fine, yeah. It's cute.
Yeah.
As a kid, it was cute, but I was like, it's kind of boring.
What about Jar Jar?
It's kind of boring. I will never say Attack of the Clones is a good movie. It's an okay movie. And it's very mixed at times. I think Attack of the Clones is the weakest Star Wars film, in my opinion.
100% is.
Yeah.
I agree.
So I'll never define Attack of the Clones.
I know someone, it's their favorite one of the whole franchise.
Sorry, pal.
And when they told me, I was like, what? I've never heard that in my life.
Yeah.
Never heard that in my life.
It's just not that good.
All right, let's get into Harry Potter.
Oh, yeah.
Obviously, the Battle of Hogwarts at the end of Deathly Hallows Part 2 is just fantastic. Just a culmination of this long, engrossing story coming to a big end. Then we have Dumbledore versus Voldemort at the end of Order of the Phoenix. Really sensational magic. Shows you the prowess and skill of these 2 all-time wizards, what they can do versus everyone else just doing fucking stupefies.
People are like, whoa, I didn't know you could do that with magic.
Yeah, I can totally do that. We have Harry versus Voldemort multiple times. You know, the cemetery is a great fight. It's not as much as a battle as it is Harry just trying to survive. And obviously,
it's great because he decides to fight.
Yeah. And Priori and Contentum coming into effect here. Harry versus Voldemort at the end, obviously, is the big climax of the entire franchise. Harry versus the Basilisk, one of the best parts of the entire franchise.
Top tier.
It's such a great 30 minutes of this movie.
Amazing. Oh, my God. I remember being a kid and watching that. Just like, this is the coolest thing I've ever seen.
Harry versus the Hungarian Horntails.
Yes.
Fucking
Horntail. Great.
Singular.
Great battle.
It's pretty epic.
Oh, my.
It really is.
It's still funny. Sorry.
The opening of Deathly Hallows Part 1, the 7 Potters versus the Death Eaters in the sky. Really great. Fun scene. It's a really strong opening to that movie.
Yeah, it's excellent.
Well, if we end up a short, speckled headed Gint forever.
James did not get that.
I did not get that right at all.
You fucked that whole thing up. You butchered it.
Anyways, I'm sorry.
That's a tough line to quote. There's a bunch of British slang in that.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's a short, speckled headed Git forever.
Yeah, there we go. Nice job.
Harry versus Draco in the bathroom of Half-Blood Prince.
I threw that in there for you.
This is really great because this is, I think, the great potential of what combat can look like in a Harry Potter movie. And obviously they took this film, David Yates making this one, and they ran with it, I think, with the the wand play and the combat going forward, it felt like a war. It felt like a war zone, like a gunfight.
Mm-hmm. And then we have the students versus the Death Eaters in the Ministry of Magic after Harry gets the fortune.
Prophecy, Anthony.
Prophecy.
It's not a fortune cookie. Prophecy.
I was struggling with
He
that
gets
word.
the fortune cookie.
I was like, what the fuck's that term? The prophecy. The prophecy.
We're not at a carnival, bro. Oh my god. Moving on to
Harry dueling Draco and Chamber of Secrets. Great moment.
Scared Potter.
You wish.
Great trailer. Molly Weasley versus Bellatrix Lestrange, as
Great.
well as the chess match at the end of Sorcerer's Stone where Ron's playing chess.
Technically a battle.
It is.
Yeah.
Battle of Wits.
Battle of Wits.
I'll be a knight.
And me, I'll be a knight. Not you, not me, not Hermione. You.
He's going to sacrifice himself. He's going to sacrifice himself.
Don't run, you can't.
He's going to sacrifice himself. One of the best TikToks ever made. Has to be.
Oh my god, that's funny.
I mean, you could also qualify. I mean,
Ron and Harry versus the spiders.
yeah, that's a bit
it's
of a battle.
Yeah.
It's more of an escape.
Yeah.
The Quidditch battles are kind of Quidditch games.
Sporting match.
Battle against sport. Athleticism.
Hey, we threw chess in there. Why fucking
Well,
not?
Ron almost dies.
Yeah, it's true. People are literally physically being almost killed. Although people
Well,
are
same
almost
thing
getting
in
killed in Quidditch.
Yeah, it's pretty
Yeah,
dangerous.
fuck
sport.
it. Quidditch counts.
Oh, the Inferi
Yes.
versus Dumbledore in the
yes.
cave.
Also, Harry versus the Dementors in Azkaban.
Yeah, he fights
Great
Dementors
battle.
multiple times.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a fucking sick battle.
Fighting the werewolf.
Yeah.
Bit of a
The
battle.
dog versus werewolf.
Dementors in the lake. Lots of battles going on, guys.
Yeah. Don't sleep on Harry Potter.
Who do you think has the best battles then, Anthony?
Lord of the Rings, baby?
I mean, you can't beat Helm's Deep.
I
Man.
don't think anything comes close. When you have Helm's Deep and the Battle of Pelennor Fields in your list, it's kind of impossible to overcome that.
Yeah.
And then they have a bunch of others too. It's just too epic. And even on top of that, like the battle at Minas Tirith of the Nazgul attacking Minas Tirith is just unbelievably incredible and one of the most mind-blowing things I've ever seen in theaters. And still to this day, it just gives you goosebumps when you see it. It's just a phenomenal series of fights and confrontations that are so epic in scope. They'll never be done like this again. And it's just, I love watching these films because you know it's the kind of film that can't be done again and won't be done again.
Oh, they'll try again.
No, I mean, they'll try, but the way they did it, because it was a time where you couldn't rely only on CGI, and they had to actually do most of what you want to do. They had to actually do most of what you see. And so practically it was just such a logistic, physical force of a production that it'll never be, you can never shoot these movies like this again. And so I think when I look back on the Lord of the Rings trilogy, it's just special to see.
It's timeless.
Yeah.
We'll be 80 years old watching Fellowship of the
Fuck yeah.
Ring for the 400th time.
Be like, this is the good shit.
I can't fucking wait. I can't wait to be that old watching these movies again, man. It's going to be awesome. So let's get into some more stuff, Anthony. All three franchises have sensational music.
Yes.
And John Williams is obviously involved in two of them. John Williams scored the first three Harry Potter films. Then Patrick Doyle came in for Goblet of Fire. Nicholas Hooper took over for Half-Blood Prince, as well as Order of the Phoenix. And then Alexandra Desplat finished off with the two Deathly Hallows films, Star Wars. Obviously, John Williams did the 9 films of the main franchise. Then we have John Powell coming in for Solo, as well as Michael Giacchino for Rogue One. And then we have Lord of the Rings, Howard Shore. All of these movies are terrific. Mm-hmm. And, you have the best composer ever for cinema with John Williams here. But, it's honestly, for me, it's tough to pick. I think
it's hard. It's a hard pick because they all have incredible themes. All three franchises have themes that are so resonant and iconic in the idea of in the world of music and cinema that they are all themes that everybody knows off the top of their heads.
It's a really tough pick because John Williams, if he stuck out and did all the Harry Potter films, I think it'd be a clear cut for Harry. Because what he did with Sorcerer's Stone and Chamber of Secrets is so special. The Hedwig's theme is really, I think, the most iconic piece of music made for film. Star Wars is up there pretty damn close for me. And Giacchino's great. John Powell did a great job. And I think Patrick Doyle did a good job. Nicholas Huber, I think, is underrated for what he did for Order of the Phoenix and Half-Blood Prince. Then the Splot is so creative in the final two films. But what Howard Shore did also for Lord of the Rings, he really made something wholly unique and wholly original with the music for Lord of the Rings. There's nothing out there, nothing at all, that sounds close to Lord of the Rings for me. And I think that's what makes it so special. And there's a lot of composers out there that sound or try to do John Williams or try to do Star Wars, but no one does it quite like him. Giacchino's the closest thing to John Williams. He's terrific. He knows great orchestral scores, lots of brass, like John does a lot, lots of good drums. But Howard Shore, man, he really just sort of got so creative with just the themes of the Shire, the themes of the Uruk-hai, the themes of Sauron, of Middle-earth, of the elves, Rivendell. It's like 4 different people wrote the music. That's how creative he got with it. And the styles change so much depending on where you are in the world, where you are, whether you're with the elves, whether you're with the hobbits, whether you're with someone on the dark side, or if you're in Mordor. And it's so sensational. So for me, my favorite music is the Harry Potter music. However, if I had to pick objectively who did the best job or which music is the best in terms of how important it is to the film and the storytelling, I'm going Howard Shore, Lord of the Rings.
I mean, it's hard to pick because, I mean, you got J-Dubs for 2 of the franchises, and then he really did change cinematic music with Star Wars, and nobody had ever heard anything like that before, especially in the sci-fi genre. And I do think that Lord of the Rings is the best. It's probably the best piece of music ever written for film. The Lord of the Rings, especially Fellowship. It's hard to pick. And I'm going to pick just what my heart desires, and it's the Harry Potter music. It's what I listen to most, and it's really the first 3 scores by John Williams. And the other 4 are still very good. Desplat did a great job too. But it's really those first 3 Harry Potter films and the music John Williams made for those, for me, it resonates so much with me. So I got to go Harry Potter.
Good point.
It's a tough pick, though, for any of them.
Harry Potter's what I listen to most as well. Yeah. Listen to it all the time.
All right, let's get into
Lord of the Rings. Some of it's tough to listen to, like in the car.
Yeah.
It's pretty bombastic.
Same thing with Star Wars.
Yeah.
You can't listen to them all the way through.
It's aggressive sometimes.
Yeah. It's tough. But with Harry Potter, I can listen to the whole fucking albums, no problem. Now, let's get into this. This is an interesting list. Best cinematography. All the franchises are so incredible and ahead of the curve with technology, most notably Star Wars for the early 2000s. But some of the films are just incredible pieces of cinematic language with great cinematography and camera work and lighting. And it's just beautiful to behold what's been done in these films. But I made a list from worst to best of cinematography for all of these franchises, if you want to take a look at this. But hold on, let me axe out. I had some Hobbit picks in here, but we're going to get rid of those now because they're not in our episode. All right.
It's interesting. You know, when I think about all 3 franchises as a whole,
yeah,
and the thing with, so if we're talking about, first of all, with Harry Potter,
yeah,
I think the cinematography is really good. However, they're so, I think, focused on world building, production design, wardrobe, and these massive sets that they didn't have enough time to, like, let's get very creative with the cinematography. That didn't really start taking off, I think, until Alfonso started taking over with Prisoner of Azkaban. And then by the time you're at Half-Blood Prince, that is one of the best-looking movies in fantasy ever.
Gorgeous.
It's an absolutely breathtaking masterpiece
Goblet
of filmmaking.
looks great, too.
Yeah, Goblet looks terrific as well. But, I mean, Half-Blood Prince, objectively, is a masterpiece in cinematography. But it took 6 films to get there. Not that the other films don't look great, because they do, but I think they're more focused on, all right, we're building massive, enormous sets. We don't have to be the most creative with our cinematography. Obviously, they are creative, but they're just trying to capture the environment. They're trying to capture these kid actors. I think Star Wars has a similar feel in the first few. Empire looks terrific, but then we get to A New Hope, and again, we're building these massive sets. That's really the juice. We don't have to be too creative with the cinematography. Let's just capture our images. Let's keep it kind of simple. As long as we're capturing great frames and getting the great production design and the lore in there, in the aesthetic, amazing.
And then Empire looks amazing.
Empire looks great. It really
Amazing.
does. And then, when you talk about Lord of the Rings, I think from the start with Lord of the Rings, it was a blend of insanely creative, well-thought imagery of cinematography blended with great production design, where they really did a great job prevising that movie and really capturing and practicing. Like, I remember watching this documentary where Peter Jackson, they built miniature models of so many locations, of so many sets, where people usually would just draw storyboards or previs in computers, but they actually would build the sets as models, so that he would go in there and he would take this little mini camera and he would fly around and like they built Helm's Deep. He's like moving the camera all over the place. The rest of the crew are like, I guess this is what he wants to do. But it's a great way for him to be able to interpret what he wants to show visually as a filmmaker. And I don't think the scope of Lord of the Rings visually is so massive because of the aesthetic, versus the scope of Star Wars is so big because of how big the universe is and what we're traveling. But I feel like Peter Jackson, what he did with his team creatively before filming, helped them so much to craft just such gorgeous cinematography. And I'm talking just about the first movies of each franchise. I would say they started off on a better footing with more creative and interesting cinematography with Lord of the Rings than the other two.
There's also something that happened and I'm not sure if it's in that documentary, but it's in an interview where he said that because it was such a long shoot, halfway through filming all three films, he just lost his creative juices. And he was struggling to stay invested in trying to make the visuals interesting and the camera interesting. And he said that he went to Scorsese movies and Goodfellas. So if you look at Return of the King, the camera actually moves a lot more in Return of the King than it ever did, really, because he was so. And in Two Towers, it got a little flat because he was just like overworked, overtired, and it was just like shooting without much inspiration, where he started with so much inspiration. So I completely agree with you. Now, I made a list of all these movies. So real quick, from worst to best: Attack of the Clones, Rise of Skywalker, Phantom Menace, Revenge of the Sith, The Force Awakens, Deathly Hallows 2, and then Deathly Hallows 1, A New Hope, Order of the Phoenix, Rogue One, Goblet of Fire, The Two Towers, Empire Strikes Back, Half-Blood Prince, Return of the King, The Last Jedi, Prisoner of Azkaban, and Fellowship of the Ring is, in my opinion, the best shot out of all three franchises. Fellowship. What do you think?
I still, it's interesting you don't have Sorcerer's Stone or Chamber of Secrets on here at all.
Oh, I guess I forgot to put those in.
Yeah, I was looking for them.
I put those in middle to low tier.
Yeah, they'd be middle to low, based off what I was just talking about. Because by the time you get to Azkaban, and especially Half-Blood Prince, I would put Half-Blood Prince, if not number one, number two. I think Azkaban's terrific. I would put like Half-Blood Prince, Fellowship of the Ring, then Prisoner of Azkaban. That's what I would do.
I would say Half-Blood Prince is gorgeous, but if you take away the silver bypass that they did, it's not as strong as Prisoner. And Prisoner of Azkaban has incredible camera movements because of Cuarón's impeccable artistry as a director. I think that the language of the camera is more interesting in Azkaban than in Half-Blood Prince. But I think
it's equally interesting. Yeah. But what I do love about Cuarón is his transitions of time are so creative. Yes. Whether it's the Whomping Willow shedding its frost, or we have the camera following birds around. We have the camera going through windows. I think Cuarón was actually, you know what?
Azkaban, I think it's overall better than
Half-Blood Prince. You're right. I just realized. Yeah. Just the shot where Harry's inside the leaky cauldron and the camera goes through the window.
He started doing the going through glass, and then everyone else started doing that.
Yes,
he started that.
Yeah, with Children of Men.
Yeah.
Okay, so we'll go Azkaban. I'll go Azkaban, Fellowship, Half-Blood. I'll switch it.
Okay, but The Last Jedi is gorgeous.
Yeah,
Last Jedi is gorgeous. But I think that overall, if I had to pick a franchise, I would pick Lord of the Rings because Harry Potter has amazing cinematography, but it is so varied, and there isn't obviously a general cohesive tone and appearance to the films, and they all look so different sometimes that I think the lack of consistency is what puts it down a little bit from Lord of the Rings, where it's all gorgeous, obviously made all at the same time by one filmmaker. But I also think it's just an unbelievable, impressive feat of camera work, what they did, shooting in all these locations. And I factor that in too. Like Star Wars and Harry Potter, generally for the most part, shooting at huge sound stages. Lord of the Rings, they spent so much time on real locations and actually getting in the nitty-gritty of these remote places and filming there. There's an added degree of difficulty to the physicality of filmmaking, and pulling that off, I think, is just so impressive. So that's what also has me put the edge above for Lord of the Rings being the top tier cinematography.
So many miniatures too. Well,
Yeah.
let's also not sleep on Rogue One.
Rogue One's great.
Rogue One, Greg Fraser, a really beautifully shot film. It absolutely is.
And I think that Empire Strikes Back is the best looking Star Wars film.
Yeah, Solo, a Star Wars
Solo
story
looks good,
also
too.
looks good too.
Yeah.
Bradford Young. It's a good looking movie.
What if you're gonna pick a franchise, best cinematography? Who are you going with?
Lord of the Rings.
See, I knew you'd turn over to the. Good
I
side.
never said that Harry Potter was number one for me.
I know you didn't.
You're acting like I said my answer already. This fucking guy. All right, let's talk about some more stuff. You want to talk about
Best actors.
Best actors.
Best actors and performances. So the best acting in the films. So many great performances and iconic characters brought to life by extremely talented, experienced, and new up-and-coming actors in these films. Lord of the Rings. Billy Boyd's great. Then Miranda Otto. This is in order, I think, in terms of performance quality. Miranda Otto as Eowyn. John Rhys Davies as Gimli. Ian Holm as Bilbo. Hugo Weaving as Elrond. Viggo Mortensen as Aragorn, Christopher Lee as Saruman, Cate Blanchett as Galadriel, Andy Serkis as Gollum and Smeagol, Ian McKellen as Gandalf, Elijah Wood as Frodo, and then Sean Astin as Samwise, most notably in Return of the King, where he has the best performance in that film.
Should have got an Oscar nomination.
Yeah. And amazing performances. Those are the best performances in the franchise.
Star Wars, we have Mark Hamill, obviously Luke. Natalie Portman plays a couple roles. Really, technically just one, but she's undercover. Undercover for a little bit. Daisy Ridley is...
Oh, that's the twist.
Yeah.
That's the twist we
That's the
forgot.
twist. Yeah. Padme. Daisy Ridley is a terrific lead as Rey.
Great actor.
Really great actor. Carrie Fisher, obviously. Ewan McGregor. Oh, man. Ewan's so good as Obi-Wan. What a perfect casting. Adam Driver's excellent as Kylo Ren. Frank Oz
As Yoda.
As Yoda. That's great.
Nobody else could have done that.
Yeah.
Nobody else could have done Yoda.
Harrison Ford, just the coolest dude ever. Mm-hmm. Then we have Ian McDiarmid as Palpatine, Darth Sidious. And finally, Alec Guinness, the most probably accomplished actor at the time in the franchise.
Also, the only acting nomination in the franchise for him.
Interesting.
Yeah, I just saw him in Lawrence of Arabia in theaters.
Harry Potter is just, I think it's unbeatable.
Let's go with this cast. What we got?
Robbie Coltrane, Ivana Lynch is great, Emma Watson, Rupert Grint, Maggie Smith, Gary Oldman, Emma Thompson, Daniel Radcliffe, Michael Gambon, Imelda Staunton, who is obviously Umbridge, Helena Bonham Carter, Richard Harris, our original Dumbledore, Alan Rickman, and Ralph Fiennes.
And I mean, there's still so many that we're missing out on. I mean, David Thewlis as Lupin. It's so many incredible actors.
The guy who plays Peter Pettigrew.
Oh yeah, Peter Pettigrew is that's a great actor. Timothy Spall.
Yeah. David Tennant.
Great actor. David Tennant.
Brendan Gleeson.
Yeah, Brendan Gleeson. Holy shit, this cast.
It's unbeatable. The Harry Potter casting is just, they get the best actors, the best British actors there is. Donald Gleeson.
Yeah, Donald Gleeson coming up. What's the actor who plays? Warwick Davis.
Warwick Davis.
Warwick Davis is great.
Robert Pattinson.
Man, Batman's in this. So many great roles.
Absurd.
Yeah. I think that if you're going to choose best acting, it's got to be Harry Potter.
It's a no-brainer.
Yeah.
It's not even a competition.
Yeah, it's
at
Harry
all.
Potter. There's too many great actors, and they're all so so perfectly cast in their roles.
They really
all
are.
of them.
I'd like to talk about directing.
Oh yeah, directing.
Now, on this list, only one director won an Academy Award for Best Directing.
Correct.
On one of these movies. Obviously, Peter Jackson. They cleaned up for Return of the King. And
He could have won for Fellowship too.
he could have
but
won
he
for.
didn't.
I mean,
Yeah.
Fellowship could have won. He could have won all Best Pictures.
Yeah.
That's how good those movies are. Now, I think Peter Jackson really is the front runner when it comes to the best directing. He really was so important in this movie. These movies wouldn't have been what they were without him. You know, this is in development for 4 years before he even started filming, and then filming all 3 in a row, back to back to back. So grueling, and to finish them all on time, basically, and get them all out basically a year apart it's absurd, absolutely absurd. Filming all over the world, all over New Zealand. So the creative vision and the execution of Peter Jackson and the devotion of legit probably sacrificing years on his life to make this trilogy is just astounding what he did.
I would say what Peter Jackson did with the Lord of the Rings trilogy is the greatest feat and greatest accomplishment of directing in cinema history.
It arguably can be. And then if we're going down the list of next great directing, I mean, Alfonso Cuarón for Prisoner of Azkaban is a great pick to go next because, you know, Christopher Columbus was so important for the first 2 films to Chris Columbus making Sorcerer's Stone and Chamber of Secrets, really getting this franchise going.
Building the world.
Exactly. Yeah. How do you do this? How do you capture this world that's so beloved and just really sticking to so much practical filmmaking? If Harry Potter was made today,
oh my God,
as movies, and I'm sure the TV show will have so much CGI, they would just CGI the hell out of that movie. But, you know, the technology wasn't quite there yet. You can CGI some stuff. The Troll didn't look that great. The Quidditch looked okay. So they went with practical filmmaking for so much stuff. But, I mean, he did a great job of, you know, directing these kids, and which he has experienced. Obviously, Home Alone.
Yeah.
He's working on a big budget there, but a massive budget, beloved IP as a book series. Will this work? Can it work? Ends up being a massive hit, but he really set incredible foundations for the franchise going forward. But then Alfonso Cuarón, coming with the 3rd film in Prisoner of Azkaban, really brought so much style, so much pizzazz, so much energy, and so much youthfulness to the film that took it in a direction that made it modern and hip and cool at the same time.
So if Sorcerer's Stone started out like Azkaban, it might not have worked.
Maybe, yeah.
But Chris Columbus and Alfonso Cuarón is obviously the superior director. He's just one of the greatest of all time. But Chris Columbus really got the franchise started, not just, like you say, with practicality and the world building, but tone. He captured the tone. He got it right.
Yeah.
And the tone of 1 and 2 are so perfect and spot on. Is only allowed for filmmakers like Cuarón and Mike Newell to really experiment with new kinds of styles of filmmaking and visuals and color palettes, and to go gothic and to go bizarre. It's because of the foundation that Chris Columbus built for them with the first 2 films.
And I really hope that when they do the TV series, obviously the style of Harry Potter has been the same since David Yates took over with Order of the Phoenix, and he went on to direct all the rest of the films, then the Fantastic Beasts films, and he developed a great style for Harry Potter. And I think it visually looks awesome. But I think it needs to take a step back and go back to its roots a little bit and kind of blend in the style of the first 2 films, Sorcerer's Stone and Chamber of Secrets. Go to a more practical filmmaking approach. Go to that more gothic, lighting with torches and stuff like that inside the castle. I think going back a little bit to the first 2 films will bring that magic back.
And stop desaturating everything.
Yes. Less desaturation, more practical effects.
Bring
because
color
the
back.
practical effects are the magic for audience. Of course, CGI is incredible. It makes the impossible possible. But it's the practical effects in those first 2 films, and even in the 3rd film too, that really make the magic feel real.
And then the first 2 films, what's so cool about them is it's really before extensive digital color grading was a thing. And that's why the colors pop, and that's why everything feels a little bit more real, because the image isn't really being color graded. They're just color correcting the color temp of whatever film stock they're working with in color timing. Whereas and that's why in Azkaban, Cuarón, and it's beautiful, desaturated the image and added a coolness throughout the entire course of the film. But you lose some of the color, and it worked because that was the direction that filmmaking was going in, and kept doubling down all the way to David Yates just really sucking the color out of the images which work, and I don't mind them. It's just that was the style of filmmaking in the 2010s and the late 2000s, desaturating images like mad. But what I do love about the first two is, like, for example, to create moonlight, they use blue lights outside of windows. And then for warm light, they use fires. So it's the actual on-set lights that are creating the colors that you're seeing on screen rather than digital color grading. And that's why they have a different feel to the later films. And I agree, I would like to go back to that more authentic, reality-looking color palette without much desaturation, without much color grading, and get back to the true real-life colors.
It's easier on post-production, too.
Oh, yeah, way easier, yeah.
It's so much easier.
Yeah.
But staying on directing, George Lucas obviously directing so many goddamn Star Wars movies and really just changing filmmaking forever. Mm-hmm. What a genius. What a creative artist. And leading the charge. And, you know, even though he's not credited as director on all of them, you know, Irvin Kershner has a credit. And then Richard Marquand, he directed Return of the Jedi.
Yes.
Quotes.
So, I mean, Irvin Kershner made Empire Strikes Back. Richard Marquand made Return. Irvin Kershner has a quote where it's like, yeah, I directed it, but George Lucas was behind my shoulder the whole time.
Yeah.
So, I understand, but they still deserve to be on this list. And Irvin Kershner, I think that Empire, again, it's just the best directed movie of the franchise. Overall, it's the superior film in the franchise, and Irvin Kershner definitely had something to do with that. They also it's a completely different filming style, different kinds of lenses, beautiful sets, and great cinematography. I think this is where the cinematography really elevated the franchise.
Yeah, Strikes Back's really terrific.
Yeah.
Then David Yates, that we just talked about, really took the vision forward in great ways and obviously in desaturated ways. So there's so many pros and cons, but I think that he's just been a great voice of running Harry Potter in the Wizarding world right now, and he's taken it in great directions. He's been very consistent, and the style and tone has been very appealing and really interesting.
And then Mike Newell did a great job with Goblet of Fire. I think Goblet of Fire is fantastic, and it's really well directed. However, it's just really, in my opinion, not the strongest Harry Potter film, but it looks great. And he did a fantastic job with the visual effects and the special effects. There's just some stuff that I think he added some cringiness to the film. Most notably, the dancing of the schools, the students when they arrive with their theme songs.
Yeah, I did not like that.
I don't love that. He did do
Crumb!
Crumb! Crumb! I was like, what the fuck, guys? There's some stuff like that in Goblet that doesn't quite work. However, overall, it's great. And also, you got to give him credit. He was instrumental in what we originally saw as the first version of Voldemort, as his fully formed body is back to life. So he was spearheading the design of Voldemort, and they nailed it.
Yeah.
You know, you got to factor in. He was like calling the shots of like what Voldemort would look like, who ultimately are we going to cast, and he approved everything. So you got to give him credit for approving the great design of Voldemort that we got.
All right. I'd like to talk about heroes and protagonists, and all three franchises have great ones. Mm-hmm. You know, Lord of the Rings, Sam, Frodo. We have the trio, Aragorn, Gimli, Legolas, Arwen. I mean, the list goes on and on
Theoden.
and on. Star Wars, Obi-Wan Kenobi, Luke Skywalker, Anakin Skywalker for a few of the films. We have
Rey.
We have Han Solo, Chewbacca, Lando Calrissian. We have Padme, Amidala. It's just insane. Leia, Harry Potter, freaking Harry Potter, man. We have
That's why he's the GOAT.
The Order of the Phoenix. We have freaking Sirius Black, Remus Lupin,
Dumbledore,
fucking door guy, Hagrid. I mean, both movies are just stacked with so many heroic characters, so many great protagonists, so many characters you can't help but constantly root for. Mm-hmm. Now, if you had to pick one franchise
of heroes
and stick with their heroes, who would you go with?
This is a tough one. Did you say Yoda as well?
Yeah, Yoda. Yeah, there we go.
And then did you say Gandalf with Lord of the Rings?
I did not. So Gandalf.
So don't forget about Gandalf.
I mean,
set of heroes. I'm gonna go with, just in my gut, it's Lord of the Rings. Mm-hmm. With the trio. I mean, with the hobbits, the trio, Gandalf, Theoden. Ah, man, Faramir. Boromir for a little bit. I mean, Yeah, I gotta go with the Lord of the Rings heroes. They're my guys and gals.
It's a good point.
Eowyn. It's a great moment with Eowyn when she fights the Witch King.
Arwen, if you want him, come and claim him.
Come and claim him. I gotta go with the heroes of Lord of the Rings.
Yeah. I mean, I don't blame you. For me, I gotta go with my gut.
What's your
I
gut
gotta
say?
go with Harry Potter, baby. I mean, just between Harry Potter, Dumbledore, and Sirius Black,
Some good heroes.
that's all I need.
He's
man.
all in.
That's all
You
I
just need
need.
those
baby.
three,
I don't
that's it.
even need Ron or Hermione. I just need those three, and I'm good to go.
Oh my god.
And even Snape.
Snape's a great hero.
Snape being a hero, but yeah, it's a tough choice. But I mean, Star Wars, legendary heroes as well. I mean, the original trio is strong enough to make a case for the best heroes in general.
Yeah.
You don't even need anyone else.
Yeah. All right, let's get into best creatures and monsters. All three franchises are filled with all sorts of amazing creatures. Let's start with Star Wars. We have the Rancor, the Wampa, the Sarlacc, Wookiees, Ewoks, Exogorth, Jawas, Tauntaun, Zillo Beast, the Krayt Dragon, a bunch of other smaller ones.
Mandalorian.
Yeah. Then we got Lord of the Rings, the Balrog, Gollum, the Orcs, the Uruk-hai, Shelob, the Ring Wraiths, Nazgul, the Witch King of Angmar, the Fell Beasts, the Dragons, Eagles, and Trolls. And then in Harry Potter, this is just scratching the surface here. Dementors, Basilisks, the Basilisk, Dragons, Acromantulas, the Hippogriff, Phoenix, Giants, Elves, Centaurs, Unicorns, Bogarts, Werewolves, Infairies, House Elves, as well as a shit ton of other ones.
It's kind of an endless list.
It's got to be Harry Potter. It takes the cake in creatures and monsters.
I think they take the cake because they have so many creatures and monsters we love from myths and lore of humanity's past. Even though Lord of the Rings gets so creative and evil and sinister, and Star Wars also very creative.
Yeah.
I think Harry Potter just exploring myths and J.K. bringing those stories to life in this world is really fascinating. You know, giants and centaurs and stuff like that.
But inventing her own,
Yeah,
like
and
the Dementors and the Bogart. I think the Dementor is one of the great monsters ever written in fiction.
The Acromantulas, the giant spiders. It's awesome stuff, man. It's just, it's an endless amount of creatures in the Harry Potter world. That's why it's so cool.
And then obviously in Fantastic Beasts, we learn about so many more. But also
It's like Pokemon. It keeps growing.
You end up loving a lot of them. Like you love the Hippogriff. You love the Phoenix. You love the Elves. I mean, you end up loving some of them like they are characters. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. How about we talk about IMDb ratings?
What are they?
So,
You have a list?
yeah, I got the list.
hear it.
Lord of the Rings. The best rated Lord of the Rings film is Return of the King at a 9.0. That's insane.
Wow.
At number 2 is Lord of the Rings, The Fellowship of the Ring at 8.9. And then Two Towers is an 8.8.
Pretty good fucking consistency right
All
there.
three are obviously on the top 250 lists.
It's the perfect trilogy and will never be topped.
All three are actually in the top 12.
That's fucking insane.
All three top 12 movies on user rating lists. On
No
IMDb.
trilogy will be able to top it.
Never.
It's not possible. It's too perfect.
Actually, let me start from the bottom down.
Yeah, you
for-
spoiled it, man.
for Harry Potter now.
You got ahead of yourself.
So Harry Potter, oh man, Chamber of the Secrets is at the bottom.
The Chamber of Secrets.
7.4.
You always say Chamber of the Secrets.
7.4? Oh
Really?
my god.
Oh man, this is an awesome one.
Sorcerer's Stone is next at 7.6.
Oh, that hurts.
And then, oh wait, I missed one. Order of the Phoenix is a 7.5.
I can live with that.
I can live with that too. Half-Blood Prince is a 7.6. Deathly Hallows Part 1 is a 7.7. Goblet of Fire is a 7.7. Wow.
It's pretty low.
It's pretty high.
Goblet's awesome.
I like Goblet Up, but not number 3. Then we have Prisoner of Azkaban is a 7.9.
Didn't even hit 8?
And Deathly Hallows Part 2 is the highest rated Harry Potter film at 8.1. Interesting.
Interesting.
All right, let's talk about Star Wars. So we have Solo, a Star Wars film, a Star Wars story, is a 6.9. Oof.
Lowest on the entire franchise
Oof,
list.
yep.
Yeah.
Then we have at 6.5. Oh, I'm sorry. Never mind.
There's something worse. Attack of the Clones.
Sorry, the order is a little off.
Yeah.
Let me fix this. Sort by IMDb rating. Sorry about that. Sorry about that. Phantom Menace is the lowest rated Star Wars film at a 6.5. Attack of the Clones is a 6.6. Solo, a Star Wars story, is 6.9. Star Wars Episode 8, The Last Jedi, is a 6.9. Episode 3, Revenge of the Sith, is a 7.6. Rogue One is a 7.8. The Force Awakens, Episode 7, is a 7.8. Episode 6, Return of the Jedi, is an 8.3. Episode 4, A New Hope, is an 8.6. And Episode 5, The Empire Strikes Back, is an 8.7.
What about Rise of Skywalker?
Did I not say it?
Mm-mm.
Actually, you're right. It wasn't on this list. Hold on.
They didn't even put it on the list.
They didn't put it on the list.
They're missing one. How'd you guys miss one?
I thought that, yeah, it only
there's
said 11.
Fucking 12 movies, guys.
Yeah, that's exactly how many there are. Rise of Skywalker
Probably like a 7.
is a 6.4.
Oof.
I think that's
the
puts
lowest.
Puts it
Yeah.
at the bottom.
Yeah.
Wow, Rise of Skywalker
That
is the
was
worst.
review bombing, though, I think.
I mean, yeah, probably.
How many ones are there?
Let's see. Probably a lot. Rating. I click on the rating score, right? Yeah. 6% are ones.
Oh, it's not that bad.
Yeah, but still not. It's not a one movie.
Yeah, it's not a 1.
It's also not a 10, and it's got 8.2% of its votes are a 10.
8.2% said it was a 10?
Yeah.
No, yeah. Well, that seems to be a
Review
pretty,
bombing on both ends.
Yeah.
That's the world we live
It
in.
does happen on both ends. You're right. Yeah, I agree generally with that Star Wars list for the most part.
Yeah, especially the
Yeah.
original trilogy all being over 8.
I agree. I mean, I would put A New Hope over Return of the Jedi. The original trilogy, I say Return of the Jedi, A New Hope, and the Empire. And those are the top 3 Star Wars movies.
If you're going 3-1,
yeah,
should have specified that.
sorry,
The way you worded it sounded like Return of the Jedi is number 1.
you're right. Empire's number 1. Well, I figured since I said Empire's the best in 16 times this episode,
You really only said it once?
multiple times. Don't throw that. You were chewing on that thing.
I was not chewing on that.
James chews on his bottle caps
I
all
was not
episode
chewing
long.
on that. No, I chew on the inner plastic section, this thing.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, obviously, Lord of the Rings takes the cake in terms of critical and audience reception and ratings, consistently with average of 8.9 for all 3 films.
3 of the highest rating movies in
the entire
history,
list, yeah.
On top 12, all
Yeah.
3.
Not surprised at all because they are perfect. All right, let's get into best costuming. All 3 of these franchises provide incredible creativity and artistry in the world and design, world building and design of their films. And in terms of costume design, it's just an embarrassment of riches that the artists get to work with. Materials, creativity of expression, as well as characters to dress. And I think that all 3 franchises do a wonderful job. All of the teams involved just knock each one out of the park. And you get so many memorable costumes. I would say that Star Wars kind of limits what they can do to some extent in terms of robes are most commonly worn by many of the characters. And so that kind of puts it down a level.
Harry Potter a bit, too.
Yeah, Harry Potter a bit as well. Whereas Lord of the Rings, you are restricted in terms of armor and stuff. But I think that if I was going to pick, I would go with Lord of the Rings because of how every race and every society, what they wear material-wise as well aesthetically looking, vary so much. And it's so creative to see. And obviously there's so much armor involved, but I love what the elven armor looks in contrast to the Uruk-hai or the orc armor, as well as the armor of men. So I think that the production design of the production costuming in Lord of the Rings is superior out of all the franchises.
I think it's a no-brainer for me, Lord of the Rings. I was watching this video Carl Urban did. He was being interviewed at his home. Mm-hmm. He's just zooming in.
Oh, I know what you're talking
He's
about.
going through the props, and he's going through his helmet that he wore, Éomer's helmet. And just his helmet, it's really metal. It's really made by hand. A lot of time were spent on just his helmets. And all these little minute details that the camera's never going to see. But he's pointing them out, like how detailed it was. And I think just the way they approached that film. Not they didn't do that on the other films as well. But I think Lord of the Rings has so much detail because they treated every character like they really existed in the world.
Whether they be an extra or a lead role.
Yeah. And so they spent so much time, painstaking care. I mean, hand making all the chainmail. They had an entire costume department factory. You know, they were making so much stuff. Same with Gladiator.
2 guys for 2 years they made chainmail.
Chainmail for 2 years. That's insane. That's all they did, and they loved it. They're like, yes. And chainmail is not easy to make.
Yeah. They spent 2 years just in pre-production building all these sets and making all these costumes.
And what's sad is, you know, you see that on the Lord of the Rings trilogy, and then you see, you know, the BTS of Rings of Power, and you see the Rings of Power costumes on camera, and see it's a $1 billion production and show, and it's just sad how much it's fallen and how it looks like they're wearing Under Armour shirts with fake patterns.
Looks like they're wearing plastic, and they probably are a lot of times wearing plastic.
They are. I mean,
armor.
we a listener of our show worked in the costume department on that. We have a friend of the show who did stunts on Rings of Power Season 1, and they told us in detail how weak and flimsy everything was.
Cardboard swords at times.
Cardboard swords.
Yeah.
And I think that Lord of the Rings, they just took it so seriously. Every character, I mean, even just the design of Sauron, the design of Gandalf the Grey versus Gandalf the White. Like you said, when we're with the elves, when we're with men, when we're with Gondor versus when we're with Rohan. So much detail.
The way the hobbits dress.
Yeah.
I love it.
It's just absurdly creative and so brilliant in every respect. And I think it's just really no contest. Star Wars, awesome. You know, it's great. Lots of robes, like you said. But, I mean, Star Trooper design's fucking epic. Iconic.
Yeah.
Iconic looks. And then Harry Potter, for the most part, we're in robes for a lot of the films. And then the plain clothes, you know, we're kind of in just good-looking plain clothes.
Yeah.
Some creativity with specific professors, you know, whether it's Gilderoy Lockhart's excellent wardrobe, Trelawney, great wardrobe.
Dumbledore's got the best.
Dumbledore's great.
Yeah.
I mean, even Sirius Black, that's great wardrobe. The mangled shreds of his costumes and what he wears in Azkaban and since his escape. The reflection of wardrobe on characters. You know, Harry Potter does a great job. Iconic looks. The Converses with like the gray T-shirt and the shirt. You know, Remus Lupin and his cardigans. You know, it's there. There's personality there.
Yeah,
it's important. But what they did with Lord of the Rings is just all-time costume designing.
And then to build off that production design from every facet, from props to set building, again, Star Wars in the early days is phenomenal, but the over-reliance in the prequels on really just green screen and blue screen rooms and CGIing a ton of backgrounds, especially in the prequels, just that doesn't look great, especially now. It's kind of the aging of the CGI isn't amazing, and you can tell it's green screen. And there's also that lack of love of tangibility that we always like. But in much of the sequels and in the originals, the productions are fantastic. But it's the prequels that take away the production design and put it down a peg. Harry Potter, amazing. Hogwarts Castle, the interiors, all of the classrooms, the Chamber of Secrets.
What a set.
Are you kidding me? The Quidditch Cup. There's so many incredible sets. The Great Hall. Every common room is just gorgeous. And I went on the London Harry Potter tour to see everything for real, and it's just unbelievable craftsmanship, and it's so beautiful and stunning to behold. And the attention to detail, every little prop and piece. It was just mind blowing. And then Lord of the Rings, again, building so much stuff. The incredible use of miniatures. The sets are beautiful. The Shire, just the Shire homes are just so cool, and all the way to things like Saruman's quarters and just the huge kingdoms. And it's just stunning. Minas Tirith is incredible. And if you're going to pick production design, honestly, I would have gone with Lord of the Rings. However, after seeing the Harry Potter tour and seeing that they really did build everything, I was absolutely floored. From everything from like the bridge to the Dursleys' home. And the variety of, you're doing these crazy cool ancient wizard world sets and then also contemporary English sets. And seeing everything in person, I was absolutely floored by the production design in terms of like the props, the animatronics in Harry Potter are phenomenal, the basilisk, things like that, the Dementors, like the puppeteering with the Dementors. And I was absolutely, and the train is amazing. So after seeing it in person and seeing how much they really did, I think I got to really give production design to the Harry Potter series.
I would give production design to them too. You know, a lot of Lord of the Rings is outdoors in these forests and everything, which is still great. But production design, Harry Potter, especially if you've been to, Universal has great looks at even just the Defense Against the Dark Arts classroom.
Yeah.
So much detail.
Dumbledore's office.
It's really incredible what they did. And I've done a few tours. I want to do the London one though. But I've seen like props on display. It's just immense detail in the production design of Harry Potter. I'll give that to Harry Potter as well.
Yeah. It's unbelievable what they accomplished.
I have a fun question.
What's that?
So if you got to choose between a weapon from Lord of the Rings, a lightsaber, or a wand, what would you pick?
Wand, baby.
Yeah, I'd go wand every time. Make magic. It means you're a
Fuck
wizard.
yeah, man.
I'd love to be a wizard.
Also, if you could live in any world in these franchises, what world would you live in?
Well, it depends. Am I a wizard?
If you're a wizard in Harry Potter.
I'm a wizard, 100%. I'm going to Hogwarts. Are you kidding me?
Yeah, I'd go to Hogwarts too.
This is no brainer. No brainer. You could die in any other one, or you could just like.
Okay, here's a better question. You're living in either franchise. You can be a wizard in Harry Potter, you can be a Jedi in Star Wars, or you can be like a huge important warrior being in Lord of the Rings.
Wizard in Harry Potter. Is this a rhetorical question? Wizard.
I'd still go wizard too.
Wizard.
Yeah,
You
I
can
would
do
go
magic.
Wizard. Yeah, I would go wizard.
Wizard. All right, Anthony.
If you were gonna have to be a squib, definitely not.
Yeah. Desert Island. You can only take one franchise with you. This
Harry
is the
Potter.
big question.
Harry
yeah.
Potter.
So yeah, the big question is which is your favorite franchise, and which is two questions. Which is your favorite franchise, and which is the best franchise? So Desert Island, your favorite franchise. What are you taking with you? And then objectively, what do you think is the best franchise?
So Desert Island, I only got one franchise with me. I would take the Harry Potter franchise because I have such a deep love for the stories and the films, and they're incredible.
I'm also taking Harry Potter Desert Island.
I think we also have the same second answer, where objectively, Lord of the Rings is, in my opinion, far and away the best franchise. Like we said, they are three perfect movies. There isn't a second that doesn't work in any of the films. Craftsmanship, acting, storytelling, visual effects, special effects, it all has still aged perfectly. They also were really creating new technologies while they were filming, and Lucas did too. But they are a lightning in a bottle, every one of those films. And they deserve the high ratings that they have, because they are all absolute sensational pieces of cinema that will never be topped, never be duplicated, and never be touched in terms of how perfect and excellent they are.
Yeah, I also agree. I would pick Lord of the Rings. And Star Wars is sensational.
Yeah.
What an incredible franchise. It is inconsistent. There
Yes.
are some duds. And the thing with Star Wars, especially the original trilogy, something that I love about it, but also something that takes away from, for me, picking it as the best franchise, is it could often be pretty camp in the original trilogy. Mm-hmm. It has that B-horror quality to it in a lot of ways, which is fun. And it works back then. It really does. It plays. And it makes it a lot more enjoyable in a lot of different ways. However, when you're talking about a franchise, overall performance, overall consistency, Lord of the Rings is unfucking beatable.
Yeah. And I would say, even though Harry Potter has some weaker films, I still would prefer watching those over any of the weak films in Star Wars.
Yeah, I agree.
And Star Wars, in terms of the original trilogy, is fantastic. It's really the prequels and the sequels, they are very consistent and vary in quality. Whereas Harry Potter, Order of the Phoenix is my least favorite Harry Potter film, but I still think it's a fucking awesome movie.
Yeah.
Whereas there are Star Wars movies where I'm like, I don't even really want to watch a couple of them because
you episode 2.
Yeah, so there's no Harry Potter movie I won't put on, but there are Star Wars movies I won't put on.
Yeah. Woo. Wow.
Man.
My voice is gone. 2.5 hours.
Yeah, we agreed with the poll. Lord of the Rings is the best franchise.
Objectively, that's the answer.
Yeah. Undeniable.
That's the answer
It's
for
undeniable.
us. But we respect everyone else's opinions.
Yeah.
And I think it's interesting that Star Wars and Harry Potter had pretty much an identical rating for when we did our poll on Twitter. But I'm so curious what the poll on Spotify is going to be. So again, go on Spotify, go on this episode of this battle of the franchises of the fantasy world, and let us know what you vote as the best, objectively the best IP, best franchise in fantasy, whether it's Lord of the Rings, Star Wars, or Harry Potter. And we're not counting Fantastic Beasts, and we're not counting the Clone Wars, and we're not counting the Hobbit franchise. We're just talking about Lord of the Rings, Harry Potter, Star Wars.
Yes.
Let us know in that vote on Spotify the best franchise, objectively, not your favorite, because obviously Harry Potter is our favorite, but we both picked Lord of the Rings because that's the answer for us.
Yes.
But what do you think your answer would be for the best franchise? Thank you so much for tuning into this awesome episode of Raiders of the Lost Podcast. Be sure to become a patron today at patreon.com/Raiders of the Lost Podcast. Leave those 5-star ratings and reviews on Spotify and Apple, and take care, everybody.
See you next time.
Thank you for watching Raiders of the Lost Podcast. Be sure to hit that subscribe button, hit the like button as well, notifications for sure. Listen to the show on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, everywhere you can listen to podcasts, and be sure to check out this other content we have on our YouTube channel.